Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the grand opening of a new page in the Premier Endurance League. This time out, we are going to be bringing you the GT3 Open category. On your Saturday nights, same weekends line up with the Sundays of the Limited category. No iRating cap on this series means that the best and brightest right across Australia's iRacing GT3 drivers and there beyond is available that are capable of racing in their series is going to be on offer here tonight. We're going to be kicking it off the weekend after the the IRL Bathurst 12 hour by kicking our series off at Mount Panorama itself. Scotty Rankin alongside of David Hames and Peter Baxter to bring you all the coverage here tonight. And I tell you what, Dave, it's a really good day to be out here on the mountain. A new page for the league as well. There's a big, exciting opportunity.
I run out of things to say about Mount Panorama because all of them have been worn in as cliches. The mountain decides, fastest corner in Australian motorsport, etc. But all of it because it is so unique, so challenging, and with so much history behind it, that you can't help but get excited about racing here, no matter the cars. GT3s, of course, are rapidly carving themselves out a bigger piece of the pie every year at Mount Panorama, and this is where you'll find the track west of Sydney. Always think of it as a racing circuit of two halves, because down the bottom of the hill looks like permanent racetrack with runoff and gravel traps, and up the top of the hill really looks like street circuit, concrete walls, and no room for error.
Yeah, it is challenging, and 6.2 kilometers. We know this circuit incredibly well. We understand its length and all of the little bits and pieces that make it up. And it was my pleasure to finally get the opportunity to witness it in person last weekend. Joining alongside of us as well, I said, we'll have Peter Baxter here tonight. Pete, 6.2 kilometers of the best roads that Australia has to offer. I don't think any more can be said about it. Don't know if Pete's with it. Pete might have just stepped away for just a few moments, ladies and gentlemen, but we are live in the middle of qualifying as it currently stands. 25 minutes was the duration for qualifying here today, and this is the calendar that is going to be running us through the Open Series Saturday nights on each of those dates. 8th of February here at Mount Panorama before we'll head off to the Sebring International Circuit on the 8th of March. 13th of April, we'll be heading to Monza. That will be a fun one at the Temple of Speed. The Nürburgring GP layout on the 10th of May. 31st of May to inside the month, Fuji Speedway. Always love the racing at Fuji as well. Tyres will be a big factor when we get to Fuji. Circuit of Spa-Francorchamps in the middle of June, and rounding it all out from Mugello at the back end of July. A lot of fast-flowing circuits at the back end of that calendar there, Dave. So a lot of GP racing will be had on the calendar this time around. I think that is going to create good racing at GT3.
Yeah, Monza, Fuji, Spa, obviously massively high speeds. Mugello pretty well as well. Massively long front straight there. A lot of speed through the corners. So hopefully it keeps everything super, super close. Of course, you've got 2 long straights here at Mount Panorama as well that give you your best chances of overtaking into the chase, and maybe you can overtake up into turn 2, Griffin's Bend, and some other places around here as well. And to go in with all of that, though, is plenty of racing and therefore a bit of strategy to try to help you get up front as well.
Yeah, and tonight, like you said, qualifying is already rolling out. 5.5 minutes remaining on the session, effectively 3 laps if you can go the distance. What are we looking at in terms of the race format? Well, 120 minutes is what we're looking for in race trip. 2 hours worth of solo endurance racing, 60% on the fuel tanks. Some tracks, that's going to lead us in the run we have to do. The extra stop is guaranteed to be a 2-stopper, but there theoretically could be a 3-stopper safety car. The strategy game in GT3s is where it's all played out, but you've now got some of the best in the business, and that also means the quickest, but the best at fuel saving as well.
Hey, g'day Scotty, and welcome back from the mountain to you, and welcome back to the mountain for tonight's first GT3 Open Series for Premier Endurance League. Mate, glad to be back with you for 2025, and it's really pleasing to come here and see some of the new names that are coming in the Open Series. The fuel restrictions for the races are open quite well, and it's going to mix up the race tonight. 60% it is absolutely guaranteed to stop up. Depending on if and when a safety car falls, could be a 3-stopper. And look, I'm going to throw it out there, potentially even a 4-stopper if they're in the right moment. So, but look, I've scrolled my name, scrolled my eyes through the names that are in for the Open Series. And there's got a few new names in there that you and I haven't seen for a while. We've got the usual contenders from the elite class last year from Premier Endurance League. But Scotty, there's a few names that you and I both know that have been sort of fairly prominent in some fast racing, iRacing around Australia, that are popping themselves up in this series. So I'm kind of keen to see how this all mixes up tonight.
Yeah, we'll get an opportunity to walk up and down, talk about a little bit of a strategy as our 2 hours progresses. Right now, 3 minutes left on the clock. Blake Neck has just managed to pop himself to the top of the timing sheets with a 2:04.552. The funny fact, that's just over a tenth faster than the next driver along. Then it gets incredibly tight. So whatever happened on that lap for Blake, it has certainly worked out for him. In fact, it might have even been an incredibly strong time. So at the moment, it's McLaren only taking the time. Then it gets really, really interesting. P2 in a Ferrari here tonight. Cruise for the first time in their first showing in the Premier Endurance League. Sit in third, and Sam Chapman is on board. That one, Audi makes it up Q3. Ford, Porsche, and AMG. How about that? 7 manufacturers inside of the top 7. That says we've got a very balanced field. Everyone is willing to look at a different manufacturer to see if they can find speed. It's always healthy to see this.
Yeah, it also says that Adam Burhock needs to pick it up a little bit, get a BMW in there for the sake of it. And when you think about a toe in qualifying around here at Mount Panorama, it's not like Daytona or some other tracks. You might get a great slipstream up Mountain Straight, but then be stuck behind someone over the top of the mountain and not easily able to get around them and then begin to lose time. So to time your run and your car placement to aim to get a slipstream in qualifying here at Bathurst is not easily done. You risk far more than you would likely gain. He's looking so competitive in that top 6.
Yeah, I just had a quick look at Blake's lap as well. There was no tyre on that one, so that was all talent and all a bit of tyre temperature as well. He might have phased the tyre in nicely. He's bringing himself up to fire off on another lap. The driver coming towards the tail end of a lap at the moment, Sam Chapman. It looks like this might be a flyer for him. Gets the car pitched in. The newest of the GT3s on offer in iRacing. And a 2:04.737 for him. Misses out by 0.02 of a second in bettering his current time on the board, but starting towards the pointy end of the field, which means good speed in the Acura for him. Neck is going to start himself another flying lap at the moment as well. And stands atop the pile. As it currently stands, look further back in the field, so we'll run you through them at the moment. Blake Neck, Adam Wright, Sam Chapman, Dylan Shepherd, Matthew Dench make up your top 5. Dean Mackay from Jackson Dial, Trent Allen, and Ethan Bass Another 2 forwards inside the top 10. Connor Nixon rounds out the top 10 in the Mercedes AMG. Stewie Shaw and Jamie Saxon just outside of the top 10. Darcy Inwood, Adam Burhop, Blake Delaney make up your top 15. Sam Sproul, Andrew Scordillas, Michael Whiting, Andrew Dutch, and Angus Morford, your top 20. We get outside of the 20. It is currently going to be Mark Hilly from Tommy Wallace, Rick Provenzali, Nick Wood, Isaac Curtis, Kurt Robinson, James Abala, Mark Foster. Daniel Benefield is a lot deeper in the field than he necessarily will like, so he's probably missed something in terms of setup at the moment. Martin Lipsky, Jimmy Middleton, Daniel Coleman, and James Duckworth round out the field. So looks like we're going to have about 33 drivers in the session here tonight. I've actually got a 34, 35. 34 and 35 have yet to set a time, so I don't know if we'll be seeing the entire grid, but a nice large grid as well there, Dave, for the first round of a new series. That's always helpful as well.
Yep, good number of cars. Checkered flag waving right now. We're soon to know exactly what the grid's going to look like, and if Blake Neck can go even faster on this final one. It's pretty good so far.
Nice and accurate as he tips it in at the chase. We'll try and pick up the throttle out the other side and gain some time. No, he's going to be aborting that lap and practicing a pit lane entry at the moment. Still has pole position by 1/10.5, and no one else on a flying lap that's in range of him. Benefield might be the only one that might be able to beat him. Colin Nixon's Mercedes comes to the final corner as well. Looks for the drive out. Reasonable lap, but not enough to improve for him. Stays inside the 204.9s. Doesn't improve. I was looking for Benefield, but Benefield didn't improve as well. So he's out at 30th, which is a long, long way down for Daniel Benefield. Qualifying has not gone his way left, so overtaking him in the race. Nick Wood on the final flying lap goes to a 205.857, so he will improve late in the session. And that leaves one more driver out on track and circulating, Logan Murphy, and then qualifying will be done. See if he'll be able to improve as well. So pole position at the moment, 204.552 for Blake Neck, all the way through into the 209.7s at the back end of the field. Means we have a fairly spread grouping at the moment. And Logan Murphy will get to the final corner. And the run to the line for his Mercedes, 207.043. So does manage to improve on that final lap. And that is qualifying. That was the last car out and circulating, so our grid is set. And we'll have ourselves a 5-minute warm-up period as well for everyone to set themselves for the race. But yeah, phenomenal mix of manufacturers. I was expecting the turbocharged cars to really run away with it, but they haven't been intensely quick, such that they need to be brought back to the field with a balance of performance around here, which is quite common for Bathurst.
Bathurst at more elevation than you think. And that's why I'm out of breath every time I walk a lap around here. And so the turbo cars, theoretically, they get a little bit extra around here if the naturally aspirated cars aren't adjusted for the altitude. So it's worked out well for Blake Neck, but the Mercedes, not a bad car for here by the looks of things as well.
No, it seems like the Mercedes is actually putting down some reasonable lap times as well. Interesting to note, I did manage to get down into the garages of the Mercedes over the weekend, last weekend, and got to have a look at the Craft Bamboo Racing Mercedes AMG. Really interesting to note, they have an 85mm piped intake that comes in back to a 30mm restrictor, is how they're balanced compared to the other cars. But it was an interesting race last weekend, given that fuel mileage became such an incredibly important part. So we're not going to see that here tonight, but I thoroughly enjoyed watching it, obviously, from the mountain, but it was a great race as well last weekend.
Yeah, it's time that they take just a litre or two out of those BMWs, though. Other than that, it was good. Loved seeing the Ferrari flying along, and it really just adds so much to any race. You don't even have to cheer for Ferrari, but if there is one in the race, it just adds that je ne sais quoi, that little bit of extra depth to any series, race, championship, whatever. So that is looking very, very safety car to me. As we head into a warm-up now, qualifying is done. Absolutely one of my favourite 4-litre V8 Aston Martins.
Brute little package in the GT4 variant. I cannot wait for the day that we get the GT3 variant as well.
The hot weather cooling pack, so that's the extra strakes that run down the front and left of the bonnet. They weren't standard issue on the Aston Martin GT4. It's the hot weather cooling pack.
There you go. I learned something about the Aston here tonight. And you can see the GT3 guys diving up the inside. Actually got the opportunity to talk to at length about traffic and management to some of the GT4 drivers last weekend as well. And they said it's you're pretty much just parking on the apex and tell the GT3s to bugger off, was how we basically put it. If they're going to be brave and be aggressive, because they do lose a fair bit of time across the top, good on them. But the marbles are so bad offline. I'm not venturing off the racing line at all. I'm covering my line very firmly. And good luck to them if they want to go the long way around. Pete, I get the feeling you've just been often talking to some of our participants here tonight and picking the brains of our intrepid adventurers as they partake in 2 hours of climbing and falling around the mountain.
Oh, absolutely, mate. I've just been to one of the teams, and the goss is like they need to do about 11 litres of fuel saving to make this a 2-stop race. So 2-stop race is going to need, in my mind, at least 2 safety cars. So I think we're 2 stops in the splash and dash to get to the end, and that's the goss. What I was really, really enjoying to see, mate, I jumped in and I saw Jimmy Middleton was in a Porsche GT3R. And I'll tell you what, Scotty, if Jimmy Middleton can get around Bathurst without pirouetting the Porsche GT3R, you might be hearing a little bit of news about that tomorrow night in the Limited Series. So Jimmy's going to, I reckon what he's going to do is he's going to drive as slow as he needs to, but as fast to stay in the race, to not pirouette the Porsche and then hang one on you and say, at least I can drive a race without turning around. Mate, I think you're in a little bit of trouble with Jimmy. But anyway, the boys are in good spirits. They're having a really good time. What I've heard is that one of our superstars of the Premier Endurance League, Owen Coleman, previous champion of the Limited Series, entered in this series tonight, currently snoozing away asleep and he's missed the entry. How's that for a round one?
Well, yeah, okay. They were talking. I was in there bothering them just before I jumped in here, and they were saying he was in strife. He was on the fringe of not being able to make it. But I guess he didn't make it after all. So Coleman's been a big figure of the league since its very, very earliest days, and I was expecting to see him tonight, but yeah, obviously not in attendance. Right, a minute 15 seconds or so away. Probably time to go through the drivers in their grid order before we fire off, as we get an opportunity to look at a whole bunch of the cars and their liveries. Starting out of pole position for the first of the Gamer Gear Direct GT3 Open Championships will be Blake Neck. Alongside of him is Adam Wright in the Ferrari, making it a McLaren and Ferrari front row. Sam Chapman, the first of the Acuras on the inside of row number 2, 10th and a half off of the pace of the leaders, will have the Audi of Dylan Shepherd lining up to his outside. Matthew Dench will be the first of the Fords on row number 3, 2 and a bit tenths off the pace, only 3 thousandths quicker than the Porsche that lines up alongside of him of Dean Mackay. Throw it back to James Duckworth and Jackson Dial, deeper inside of the top 10. Quick lap times for the two of these guys brings Duckworth to the inside of Jackson Dial on row number 4. Row number 5 will have Connor Nixon as Mercedes AMG from Trent Allen to his outside in the Ford, rounding out the top 10. Moving over to 11th spot for Ethan Bass, we'll have Stewie Shaw alongside of him. Jamie Saxon out of 13th. We'll have the Audi of Dusty Inwood to his outside. Adam Burhop will make up 15th spot, just barely pipping Blake Delaney. That was late on in the session because Delaney was sitting 15th for a fair while. Sam Sproul and Andrew Scodillis will make up 17th and 18th. The 19th and 20th and 10th row on the grid. Michael Whiting from Andrew Dutch there, Dave.
Yeah, taking a look through to the tail of the grid then, but still within 1 second of pole is Angus Lawford starting out at 21st. Mark Hilly there in 22nd. We have Tommy Wallace and Nick Wood, 23rd and 24th. Rick Provenzale and Isaac Curtis, 25th, 26th, all Porsches on that row. Back to one of the Acura/Hondas with Kurt Normanson and James Abella in 28th. This is going to be some of the last drivers with qualifying times. Mark Foster, 29th, Daniel Benefield, 30th. And then Logan Murphy and Martin Lipsky. Jimmy Middleton and Daniel Coleman. So we've got safety car, Leith McClymont with no qualifying time either, and race control, of course, no qualifying time. So there we go.
And I can tell you that that is Lee Williamson starting from the race control seat, who's been with the league for a very, very long time. Good to see Lee back. He's a good friend of mine, and always love seeing him in control of the field here. And I can tell you he is a big fan of that BMW. Tends to drive at every opportunity he possibly gets in the GT3 field. Right, the short pacing lap as we run down across the crest of the chase in the braking zone. You can get yourself a nice view across the left-hand side. And enjoy Friday's practice action from the Bathurst 12 hour. We enjoyed quite a few brews sitting there around the umbrellas and enjoying some Korean chicken as well, which was phenomenal across the weekend. But for these guys, the beers will have to wait. 2 hours worth of racing action to come our way. They fire their way down into the final corner. Fuel saving will be required to make it a two-stop race here tonight. Who is going to get on the loud pedal? Who's going to burn the rubber? Who's going to burn the gas? And we are green, green, green. Blake Neck fires it off on the run down to turn number 1. Gets a great getaway. Ryder's managed to go along with him. Sam Chapman's trying to really squeeze Dylan Shepherd along the inside. Manages to steal that spot, and it's on in behind as well because Dench has been forced to try and hold off Dean Mackay. Mackay got a good run. Jackson Dials now trying to go alongside of him as well. Manages to get the nose ahead, so Mackay has lost himself one spot in all that mix, and Jackson Dial has been on the offense. And have a look at them as they feed up Mountain Straight. There'll be no 3 wide as there was in the real world 1 week ago when they fired off, but that doesn't mean it's not as angry when they get to Griffin's Bend.
And for this race start, the sun is up, the sun is out, and it's beaming down hot, 48 degrees Celsius on the track. So there's not as much grip as you'd hope for. Too wide through the cutting, a little bit of the nudge, and I'm coming through right there. Keeps the track clear, which is always a concern through the cutting in these parts of the racetrack. But an incident could block the track and draw far more drivers into it. It's tied so far up here, and Blake Neck, I'm sure, is pretty happy with that race start. Adam Wright, probably pretty happy with his. It's Sam Chapman who is trying to drive a very wide NSX over Skyline.
How good is it to see the Acura NSX GT3 and see the NSX back at the pinnacle of racing, particularly in digital formats. I was so over the moon when they announced this car coming to iRacing, and now we get to see it in anger for the first times on our racing screens. The first time through the elbow. Tyres still on their way up to temperature and pressure. Racetrack temperature has climbed just a little bit since qualifying as well. 48 degrees Celsius in terms of track temps means it is a steaming hot track. 1:30 p.m. On the 8th of February is the racing conditions as we launch down here. Adam Wright's managed to make himself a reasonable gap as they get down there. A couple of positions being swapped a little bit further back. I did actually have a quick look back through the pack on lap 1, and underneath the gum tree for the first time, Sam Sproul was having a look at Michael Waters' Ferrari ahead of him, but that was very much not on. But certainly made for an exciting moment on lap number 1 as everyone files down. Is that Dench trying to poke the nose out? Thinking about an overtake? It certainly is. He's managed to get his way to the inside of Sam Chapman. Chapman lost that spot to Dylan Shepherd at the chase, and now he's going to lose another one. So whilst Chapman's still struggling to bring the tyres up to temperature, and now Jackson Tile's going to have a go at him as well. Sam Chapman's gone from comfortably sitting in 4th all the way across the top to now he's back to 5th, and it's going to be 6th when they get to Griffiths. There's contact, they bang doors because Dial's trying to squeeze him to the inside. Here they go on the run of Griffins. Bang, 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 and finally Sam Chapman gets back ahead. Is Dial going to drift a little bit wide? He is. Door open for Dean Mackay, trying to find the slide. And the slice and dice, not going to be able to cut his way through, but Jackson Dial is getting aggressive early in that Mercedes. Looks like Sam Chapman's just going to try and find a groove.
The crest and hill once again, and then GT3 cars are so fast through here. They've got so much grip, carrying so much speed all the way to the top of the corner park. Looking at the replay down here at the final corner near the museum, and that's what stacks us up to keep this all off. And they were hanging doors the whole way up Mountain Straight. The inside line at Griffin's Bend is always going to be the team, the car that wins. We've got so much more grip with the crown of the road right up against the apex.
Yeah, so now they're going to get their heads down, and with that track coming up a little bit, and the fuel loads on the board as well, it's going to be in the 60-odd litre range they started this section of the race with, compared to the light fuel tanks they were running just before. So it's not the most heavy of fuel tanks that these cars are capable of. It's certainly a lot more heavy cars early on. Just taking a quick look through the field, I'm not seeing a lot of fuel savings. So what Pete predicted early on, Pete, looks like you're onto a banger there. It might just be too much fuel to save.
Yeah, too much fuel to save. Look, I was in the chat with Jamie Saxon just before the race started, and he was having a little bit of trouble with his volumes. I was coming through his monitors incidentally. I suspect he drives the headphones, and he missed the start. So Jamie's currently 21 positions down on the leaderboard, but driving the Acura, he's moved from the Ferrari to the Acura, and hates the not a fan of that. That's anti-Australian, but he's in the race and we'll let him keep going. But look out for Jamie. I think he's got some positions to make up.
Jackson Dial again. Jackson Dial does get to the inside, but they get the Griffins this time. There was a little bit of a bump, which means again Sam Chapman's going to lose a couple spots. 3 spots instead of just the 1. So he wanted to fight on over that spot, and all of that qualifying pace that the Acura had, he is struggling to transition that into race pace at the moment. So hot track temperatures. And maybe not the bite at the front end of the Acura that he was looking for, because he started so far up this field. 3rd spot. And now sits 8th, so he's been the biggest loser inside that top 10 by a long shot. And I'd be interested to keep an eye on Saxon to see if he can cut his way through the tail of the field. That'll be a story to follow as well. Who's the biggest winners thus far? I think will be one of the things that we're looking for. Just like 3 spots I'm seeing for Sam Sproul, so he's made a couple spots up early on. Other than that, everyone's only moving up and down a couple. Michael Whiting and Logan Murphy, the other 2, have also gained 3 spots early on in the race. So everyone just settling in just a little bit. Oh, I just seen Rick Provenzali just smash the wall at the exit of the elbow. So it'll be a huge moment for him, and I think that's going to be bent steering as well. He's definitely slow. There's a lot of damage to the front of that Porsche.
On the old Hyundai TCR World Tour move there. Now in the grey at the elbow. Damage on the wall there and losing a handful of positions. What surprised me is Daniel Benefield is still in 29th position in a field that had a fair bit of spread through qualifying. So he's clearly either working on something or not making moves like he'd hoped. Because everyone else getting up to speed like Adam Wright with the new fastest lap of the race. So there's plenty of pace to be had and plenty of ways to make moves as we're seeing. Yeah. We're seeing more than we bargained for of the Ford Mustang's Coyote V8.
At least we got good. Now we know what the intake looks like.
Yeah, just did we all scrutiny that restrictor intake?
My filter's out. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I was going to say we go back and we need to start piecing that back together bits by bit. Be interesting to see when they do get the Ford and the Chevy over here, hopefully in time for the 12-hour next year. Potentially in time for some GT3 racing this year as well. Might be towards the tail end of the year as the cars start to come into circulation. The problem being that there is just not enough of them going around. The GT4 package looks insane, and I guarantee you iRacing will be too far away. How's this for side-by-side up and across the top of the mountain? That's the moment. Darcy Inwood on the outside at the moment will get overtaken by Adam Burhop in the BMW. They're going side-by-side down through the S's. That's bravery. Somebody's got to back out, and it'll be the course cut for Inwood. So he will have to lift and serve a slowdown penalty, but that was broke. No one wanted to back out. Now it's going to stack up the Ferraris. And I get the feeling Sproul will be looking to take full advantage of this. He has. He's picked off Michael Whiting, so he's picked off another one, which is 4 spots gained for him at this point in time. And now Michael Whiting's got a good exit off the elbow, so he's going to come back at him. So that little moment, that little bit of battling up and across the top, it's not often you get an opportunity to overtake, so sometimes you're going to take them when they're on offer, and now it's going to be Blake Delaney who tries to slice it down the inside of Inwood. So the Audi's struggling a little bit in terms of straight line speed, but those fishy motorsports Ferraris are incredibly quick in a straight line. They both just picked up a spot. Well, I was expecting a tame race early on.
I wasn't, but good for you.
Wrong.
Get up that pace, then fastest lap of the race goes to Jackson Dial back there in 5th place as he's leading a group of cars, trying to close in on Matthew Dench in 4th. That's part of the group we see here with Dylan Shepherd in 3rd. Shepherd already going to a little bit of fuel management, not a massive amount of saving, but I think there's definitely a few drivers where you think, shouldn't they have another half a second of pace? And we're not seeing it right now. They're hoping to extend this first stint. Although that was a pretty ugly line through the cutting just there for the Audi. Notoriously a little easy to get the tail to wag and have it want to swap ends on you.
Yeah, and this is where the Audi's been making a lot of its time up across the top. Doesn't look too much of a slash in a straight line, so I do like looking at these two. When they talk about it, the Audi was one of the quicker cars in a straight line up the mountain. All those restricted horses that would be preventing the other cars from matching them. The BMWs were absolutely mega. And for the meantime, Blake Neck is managing to maintain a lead. And how is this? Sam Chapman is just getting bullied. He would have been looking to really settle into this, and he's not being offered the opportunity to. He's got a little bit of drafting assistance now from James Duckworth. And Connor Nixon is looking at him from the rear and looking to try and offer him a little bit of hurry up. And
Mark Foster dropping backwards through the timing as well at the moment, so plenty happening. Of course, a big field of GT3s means there's always going to be something happening because it's GT3 racing. It's Mount Panorama, which gets one of those spots. He was after 17th place, further behind this. Duckworth has a lot happening behind him, including Sam Chapman making a meal of the final corner, kicking up some grass and coming under attack once again.
And he just cannot get in it. The problem is he's defending all the time, and he's just not able to build the run and settle back into a rhythm. So whatever he found in terms of race trim, he can't carry on with in terms... what he found in quality trim, he can't go on in terms of race trim. It's just not there.
A really nice bump draft there, though, up mountain straight. Holds his position. He gets a little bit of help from behind from Connor Nixon. So maybe that Honda's going to work okay across the top of the mountain here. Certainly, Nixon got a great run off Hell Corner and decided to just push Sam Chapman along.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the big key. Some of these guys are going to look to make the bump draft work and offer some pace. Is there anyone you've got your eye on up and down the field at the moment, Pete? Anyone that you think might be trying to have a crack at the fuel save, just because why not?
No, right now I've got my eye on car 144, Andrew Scudillis. On lap 4, just coming out of the Forest Elbow where you were commentating, quite a really good battle. I noticed that Andrew's rear bumper fell off the car, so I'm just keeping an eye and see where it's slowing him down, but I think he's been able to manage his pace with the field. It's not affecting him too much. He's down 3 spots from the starting position, so I don't think that's from the rear bumper. He lost a spot in that altercation, but I think the car's doing all right. So if there's a faster pair, you'll be able to use it, but it's not going to hold him up too much. That rear bumper's going okay. The diffuser's still on the car, so that's a good thing.
It doesn't look to be having any aerodynamic effects at the moment. And Matthew Dench is continuing to look at the rear bumper of Dylan Shepherd at the moment. What the lap time is going to look like across our top few. It looks like Blake Neck has found something at the moment, running the fastest of our top group. And then there's this little battle pack, which has just been something to keep an eye on for sure. The two fishy Ferraris continuing to apply pressure. Adam Burhop will be their next victim, but it will be turbocharged car versus turbocharged car. And how good did the 296 look in the hands of Chaz Mostert from last weekend as well? It was a fan favourite up and down the lane, I'll tell you that much.
Absolute weapon, and turbocharged is the way that almost all of them are going. The Mustang and the Corvette kind of outliers in that regard. The next Lamborghini GT3 is going to go from naturally aspirated V10 to turbocharged V8. The Audis are dwindling. BMW went to turbocharged. Mercedes are probably going to go to turbocharged when their new AMG GT3 hits customer hands in 2027. So there's so many more turbocharged GT3s these days, and they provide a very continuous power band that kind of suits the way GT3 performance works and how the BOP works, where, okay, this is how much power you've given me, but I will continuously make that across a wide power band. Seeing a couple of different groups forming in this early stint. Now, with that fuel tank restriction, you've got to think 40 to 45 minutes is probably the longest anyone will go in this opening part of the race. That's still a while away with just 15 minutes completed.
I'm going to call you, I reckon it's about 26 minutes. I think at about 35 minutes time that's when you're going to start seeing the pit stops, and that's what's pulling it into a sort of 2+ smash and dash. If we were 40 minutes plus, then I think we'd definitely twist the rules. But there's 60% fuel restriction. It's got them under that. 40 minutes is pretty good for the other thing I'll say is that you might be in trouble. Jimmy Middleton might be right down the back of the field, something's behind everybody. He's driving license.
Oh, I'm in trouble. He gave me a whole bunch of grief meeting him in the mountain as we're watching the replay of Dench finally getting the job done, and it was helped him on. Dylan Shepherd recognised he was the weaker of the two in that battle. It was probably just time to pull over. He recognised that he was going to lose it in the long run. But for now, Sam Chapman has finally been able to settle back into that Acura. He was having a seriously hard time trying to pull that thing back in. And recovery might have overheated the tyres, and it's giving him some grief at the moment. Not seeing any crowd cover in the offering at all.
No, track's even hotter. It's 49 Celsius. So Chapman runs right up against the wall there, and even with the bump draft he received earlier, his NSX has still got its rear bumper, so that's not what causes them to fall off. It must be something else.
Interesting to know. And that is going to be something, we can probably develop and keep an eye on. As the car settles onto the platform, Blake Neck is just really in control at the moment. Margin's up 2.2 seconds now as Adam Wright starts to get pulled in. So it looks like he's made an error of some description on this lap. It looks like it was somewhere across the top. One has got off the line a little bit. And now back in his toe is Matthew Dench. Good to see Matty Dench around again. And good to see him in a drop bear livery as well. New pickup for that team, was looking for somewhere to go when parted ways with the old team. And drop bear is where he's at, enjoying his days over there, is the whisperings I've been hearing. So it looks to be a good little matchup for those guys.
No, I tell you, Scotty, I think it's really fascinating was you and I have been doing the Premier Dreams League for a few seasons now, and we've got the names of Dean Mackay, Stewie Shaw, Adam Burhelp. These are guys that have been up the front and well and truly showing us the pace in the Premier Dreams League in these 2-hour races. But now that we've gone to the Open Series, we've got a whole new set of names up there. Even Dean and Stu Shaw's, Stu Shaw's fighting just to get in the top 10. So it just proves there that the iRacing does make a little bit of a difference. We've got some new names up in the Premier Dreams League, and we're finding some really fast GT3 drivers across the country. So that's really cool.
Starting to range in on the 20-minute marker as it currently stands. We'll take a look a little bit further back, and again the Ferrari's getting quite close. Blake Delaney will get closer and closer to Burhop, I believe that is. And they'll actually enter side by side. So Burhop again a little bit under assault. Looks like he might be the cork in his little bottle, and yeah, that was definitely wide at the cutting. So he might be vulnerable when they get down to the bottom of the hill. In fact, he actually just had a big slide up and over the curbs post dipper. Problem is, Delaney's probably a touch too far back. Got a really good exit actually off the elbow. Might see the overtake here, Dave.
Yes, so how's the straight line speed? This tells us that that BMW just starts walking a little bit initially, but change once you get to really powerful slipstreaming speeds on board with Blake Delaney. He shifts up into top gear, looks one way, looks the other. I tell you what, you're close to being able to send it down the inside if you hadn't maybe faked the other side, and probably brakes pretty well. So if you can get an exit like that again, and you cannot pull out of the toe until you're right at their rear bumper, I think passing is entirely possible. It's just not proving easy or for the weak-willed.
A race controller from car 418, which would be Jamie Saxon, which would be an interesting one to keep an eye on, but I couldn't see anything associated with that. So I'll repeat, if you could have a look back and identify who that actually was that was talking about race controllers a few minutes ago, and give us an update on that.
Yeah, I'm on it, mate. It would look like it was Jamie Saxon, but otherwise it's definitely more than a bit of touch in the cutting from what I can see right now.
Got a replay of Chip Griffiths. So it was against car 418. It wasn't car 418 calling it in. Ooh, that was a couple of laps ago. So
that was lap 9.
Would have been, I believe, Isaac Curtis who made contact with at that point in time as well. Curtis has some damage in the left rear corner of his Porsche prior to that incident. So there's something not quite right about that Porsche, and he's fallen off a long way back. So a couple cars with damage. Two of them are in similar paints. I've just seen Ricky Provenzali have a huge moment up and across the top. He is struggling to get his Porsche back under control, and now he's in the grass. And around goes Mark Foster on the outside across the top. One of the few Corvettes in the field. Oh boy, that was a wild ride. You covered that nicely though, Dave.
Yeah, the grip levels of iRacing's grass has fluctuated over the last few years, so I don't know how much rain or not rain or whatever we've had here at Bathurst, but it's definitely looked slipperier in times before. But that's a handful of a car, 2 corners in a row. Sheesh. Look at it, it wants to oversteer, so he steers into these slides, and it thinks he's stabilised again, and then it requires more wheel work, and yeah, just a nasty looking thing.
Well, it's definitely damaged the rear end of that Porsche, that much is for certain, and it's definitely hampering him. Mark Kelly, I'm going to keep an eye on. And this is a moment for him with the Mercedes that was just ahead. They get locked together. They ride it out. Everyone escapes with their lives. How about that? That's some awesome driving by a number of cars. I believe Jamie Saxon was actually the Acura that was at the tail end of that train.
Yeah, Jamie's finding his pace, mate. He was down 21 positions, if you remember. He had that problem at the start of the race and missed the start. He was down 21. So he's now back up to P26 and down 13 positions. So he's got a little bit of pace in that Acura. He's doing low 208s, which is probably on par with those at about sort of the low 20s. So I think he's got a few positions yet to come, but it's not always easy to overtake at Bathurst. There's only a couple of real overtaking spots unless you take a high risk, as you know, Scotty.
So an update on Isaac Curtis and Jamie Saxon from a few laps ago. There's no further action, which is the way that people were on as well. So good to see that's all being looked at and handled. And this battle pack just continues to not go away as well. And Burhop and Delaney were both wide when they got to the elbow. How about these guys up ahead? Sam Chapman continuing to get a little bit of bullying but this time it looks like he's got the car together. He rides the curve. He goes for a wild ride off and through the sand trap. Where's he going to return? Misses them all just. Oh, that was wild and woolly.
A wild ride both sides of the racetrack, and my goodness, lucky to not collide with the wall, lucky not to collide with some other cars there as well. Lucky to still have 4 wheels on it.
That is insane, the wild ride he just went for. So this will be the replay. He gets pitched. He wasn't overlapped, so I don't know what he was looking at. He's clearly lost his markers for the turn-in point for the chase, and the fastest corner in Australian motorsport became the fastest oh no that Sam Chapman has probably ever uttered as he bounced across the curb.
Yeah, exactly. It was the curb that upset the car, Scotty. He's put the curb right over put the car right over the middle of the curb, and that's upset it and thrown him right out. So no other cars involved. That is a simple driving area from Sam.
Did I just see you were trying to do math live, Dave? So through our YouTube chat? That didn't work for
yeah, that was earlier. I forgot that there's only 60 minutes in an hour.
I can't spell tonight. You can't do math. Pete, what are you suffering from?
I can't talk to you. Let's just enjoy it for what it is, boys. But I tell you what, there's some fabulous racing. But Bathurst is Bathurst, right? And we watched the indoor 12-hour last year, and the hero, the prince of the mountain program, puts the car into the wall through the dipper. So anything can happen. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how many laps you've done. Things can happen. And that's what I'm loving about that. The other thing I'm liking is new names. Premium Endurance League coming out. New names.
Side by side, down through the S's, and there's a car in the wall, and Tommy Wallace looks like he was crawling along there. Dent's just starting to close in on Adam Wright. So we said Adam Wright might have been struggling with the front end of that car. It looks like whatever they've done with this Ford, it's looking after its tyres incredibly well. And the longer the stint goes, he is looking better and better and better compared to the field. Neck is not really getting away from them any further. He sort of sat about that 2.5 second margin for a while. But Kurt Nomenson's got an issue, so this is what's going on. So it was that Acura. Oh boy! It wasn't the Acura, it was the Porsche ahead of him.
Yeah, not the first time we've seen one of those 911s looking really just mean and nasty over the crest of Philly Park. He's had a big slide corrected, snapped into the car behind, and two have come together just because in these super hot, super slick track conditions, there's one car that's looking like it can't quite keep the rear under control. It's Porsche's newest GT3.
Yeah, it doesn't tend to do well in the hot conditions. It really has issues with keeping the balance underneath the car. There's another car that's starting the pit lane as well. So we've got an hour and 33 minutes left on the clock in the Honda to make it a two-stop. We're looking to try and get to an hour and 20, so that's 13 minutes or so away. First pit stop starting to come out. Liquid Climate gets to the lane. Something happened to Andrew Scordilis as well because he's in. So he was involved in the same incident, and he is now off the lead lap. So
yeah, Scotty, I'm just reviewing the incident. It looks like Tommy Wallace in the Porsche. I mean, you've probably got a little bit of credibility now, but he's just come into McPhilly there. Hasn't touched the curve, either side, left or right. But the Porsche has actually given him a little bit of oversteer, and it's made him throw the car backwards. But the problem is Scordilis was just behind him, and he got caught up as an innocent victim in Tommy Wallace's oversteer. So that's what happened, and that's going to impact Scordilis pretty significantly. Both cars got a fair bit of damage.
This is the onboard as we take another look at it, and it's just, let's go. You've got to try to hold it. They can't, and gets the Acura, and then they both, in a rather sorry state, slide over the apex and over the hill at Skyline.
Yeah, long, painful way down after heavy contact, and running around at the back end of the field as well. Been an issue for Rick Provenzali on the current lap, I believe, as well. Chatting to race control at the moment, getting call in, so we'll have to keep an eye out on looking at that one. But Logan Murphy's been run down by Jamie Saxon moment. This little battle pack will be an interesting one to keep an eye on, with the recovering Jamie Saxon in the middle of it. But for the meantime, Matty Dench not quite able to find some major gains on Adam Wright top end of things.
Like keeping that lead so steady at the moment, but it has just gone past 3 seconds to the Ferrari of Adam Wright, who's maybe starting to feel some Matthew Dench Ford Mustang pressure. So, really tailing sideways out of the elbows. So both of them are pushing on pretty hard, but you see so many little examples from different models of car at different corners exactly how slick and greasy this racetrack is right now.
Everyone's making little errors in different parts of the racetrack. I can tell you that Dench is absolutely fuel saving, but it's not a huge amount. It was definitely a lift off as they got down into the chase, but we'll keep an eye on this next little battle back as well, because they've been stuck like this for a while, and I get the feeling Delaney is getting more and more and more frustrated as this continues, because he's certainly making a touch of time on Adam Burhop, but it's not enough to close and get that job done. With a little bit of a mistake from Burhop, might be what he needs. If he can get the turn and point he needs at the last corner and then at turn 1, it might be an opportunity at Griffin's. And he's wide at the final corner. He got a tyre out the marbles, so this will finally present one of the best opportunities that Blake Delaney has had in a good while. He'll show the nose. He'll just try and harass him, get him to move off the apex, and that probably wasn't the go. But again, Burhop's a touch wide, got the drive out the other side. Covered it, he's fine. Probably not the spot to go for it down in turn 1, because he wasn't even alongside yet, and that would have been a huge drive to get that done there. And now, Whiting's going to have a go at him as well, and backs out. So, the ebb and flow of GT3 racing, you can definitely sense that the Ferraris are faster right now. Getting past is a different kind of problem you've got to solve, Dave.
Yeah, so obviously a bit of team flying happening here as well with Delaney and Whiting. The teammates behind as well, and just stayed in line for a while so far in this race. Not too far away from pit stops looking to change all of that. What I'm not seeing is anyone else taking that fastest lap of the race away from Jackson Dial. I think everyone's tyres have reached sort of at least a plateau. There's no extra performance coming along. It's just keep nailing onto the tyres, and they wear, they overheat, and they just keep picking up the temperature from the track as well. And it's one of these circumstances where if there's a particular temperature that's the sweet spot for these tyres, everyone is working just a little on the wrong side, on the hot side of it.
So guys, I think we're 1 lap to pits right now for most of the cars about timing. Potentially 2 if we were over fuel safe, but the issue that Ricky probably called him before, Andrew Skoudilis, the guy who lost his rear bumper on lap 9, and was involved in an incident up at the top of the mountain. He's towed without the call of request for tow. As we all know, that when there's a request for tow, that can safety car and change the whole concept of race. So he's towed, he's in the pits, he's been there for 7 minutes or so with heaps of repairs. So probably out of the race, but he's changed the context of what could have been a safety car. Could have been a whole pit stop for a whole lot of people, forced them into a different station dash scenario. So, yeah, race context and doing the things as the rules are concerned is something that will pop up. But I think we're about to see the pit stop cycle just about to start.
Had 1 or 2 cars. Samuel Sproul and James Abella are in the pit lane right now. You're seeing pit stop times. They're 22 to 23 seconds, reflecting the capped fuel tank. Still ought to be enough time to get 4 fresh tyres on though. Not quite.
No, it would be just cover it. But the problem is those 2 out laps, the first 2 laps, So the benefit of the fuel strategy, it'll be interesting when we get to Fuji at the back end, because Fuji I think will take tyres every stop, just because of the tyre wear at Fuji is so high that the back end of the stint, if you're not looking after them. But the tyre wear everywhere else doesn't quite cover it off, so you're actually just better off leaving a set of tyres on for 2 stints in a row, because you'll lose 5 seconds on the first 2 outlaps in terms of bringing the tyres up to temperature, and you'll never gain 5 seconds back in extra fresh tyre speed. So you'll see a mix of strategies, some that'll take tyres at this first stop, some that won't. And that's been pretty consistent as it's been. I think the general consensus has been don't take tyres first stop, take them second. Confirm? Deny?
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I think, you and I both know that the GT3 tyres, they used to be, when you had to do tyres different to fuel, and that was about 2 years ago in iRacing, you would set up your car and you'd do 2 fuel stints on a set of GT3 tyres. 2 fuel stints is a 2-hour stint, right? So essentially, these guys could race fairly well on a set of tyres without changing the tyres, but just coming in for fuel stops. But because now tyres get changed at the same time that fuel comes in the car, if you're putting that much fuel in, you might as well get yourself a green set of tyres. The downside is, as you just talked about, it does take them 2 to 2.5 laps on this track to get going, and slow laps over the top of the mountain are dangerous. They're not only slow, they're quite dangerous, because if your car's slippery, you can touch the fence pretty easily. Over to you guys.
Full stops, and you're seeing them all about the same time still, 22 seconds, 23 seconds. So that's your pit stop times to try to brim it again and see how much further you'll go on there.
Yeah, so the problem being is if you pit early now, you're probably not getting the tank up quite as full as these other guys that will have less fuel to do. So you might lose out a little bit of track position to the guys that pit a touch earlier right now, but you'll gain that back in the last stop. Thing is, I'd rather have track position, and there's a car in the fence at the moment, and it's the 322, and I think, was that Burhop? Yeah, it is.
That is the 322 added Burhop. He's just, something's gone wrong with the car. It hasn't been a contact, so something's gone wrong with the car. I'll see if I can work that out what it is. But,
I reckon he's fired it up again.
Yeah, that's the thing, he was at the stop there, but he doesn't have a whole lot of damage on the car, so I think he's encountered a problem somewhere along here, and then had to like, his steering wheel's locked up or something.
That might be a hard move, because there's nothing wrong with the car. He didn't hit the fence, he didn't lose any control. He's just kind of pulled over. A really awkward place to pull over, to be honest, one of the hardest places on Bathurst. But he's pulled over for about 10 seconds, didn't call for a safety car or anything, and has got himself going again. So who knows, guys? That's cost Adam a little bit of time, but hopefully it's something simple for him that he can fix.
Well, the good news for Michael Whiting and Blake Delaney is it's released them to go on and get after it. And Andrew Dutch has actually gone along with those guys as well. So the forwards started to work quite well for Dutchy. Interesting to see how this one, because now that these guys are released, there's a really, really strong opportunity for some pace.
That's right. I'm just watching Adam Burhop stop now to see if his pit stop is in time with everybody else, or it's got some other repair times.
Top right of screen, we're looking at that time for Adam Burhop that proceeds past 23 seconds, 24 seconds, to 25 seconds, but that's very similar to what Logan Murphy had, and it's not outrageous for what could have been a monumentally almost racing-ending incident for Burhop.
No, absolutely. I mean, Lethal Climate's got a 31 seconds difference, so 26 for Adam is not too bad at all. But, so maybe it was just a little bit of hardware failure. He stopped to sort it out, and away he's gone. But it's cost him a few spots in the race. But we'll see what happens at the end of the day. Long way to go.
A few mentions of gremlins of late, so something's been happening in the recent past that's certainly been causing issues for all the drivers. But have a look. Immediately, Whiting's got released, and he's just disappearing down the road. So this has certainly worked out for the guys that are in this group. And now the leaders are coming into the pit lane. So Blake Neck in, Matthew Dench, Dylan Shepherd, Dean Mackay all went that extra lap, and they are now in. Is Sam Chapman continuing on? Well, that would explain why there was no pace in that car. And I have seen him do this strategy before. When nobody else commits to the... I tell you what, he goes around one more time, he will make it on fuel. He absolutely... That absolutely explains his pace. That makes so much more sense. Ethan Bass is the next driver on speed as well. There's a lot of flashing of headlights here to the 67 machine of Mark Kelly. He loses 2 spots right here around the outside at the chase, so it looks like he let that one happen.
Might have been short on fuel on an in-lap or something.
There's 6 drivers that have gone on, by the way, guys, and I've opted to save the fuel.
Now, an interesting thing, Scotty, is that's put them over the 40-minute mark, so that has put them over the threshold. If they can do that for another stint, they are home on 2 stops. But anybody who stopped at 1 minute 35, and there's about 4 people that stopped on about 1:35. There was probably another 6 or so that stopped at about the 1:38 mark. They can't make it home without significant fuel saving. So this might be a race of 2 versus 3 stops if there's not a safety car. The question I'm going to put back here is, how much does Andrew Skadillas tailing without permission change the impact of the system we've just seen?
Yeah, Shoots had huge impacts. Certainly huge impact in terms of the overall race now, because we were nowhere near it. What was that you just saw in the background there? No, well, that is a car offline at the S's.
Matthew Dench is dropping down, and he's got damage on the Mustang, and he's parked, and in the cut, heading down the hill through the S's. That thing's gone into the wall. And earlier, how about another one?
And he's just called for a tow. He has just called for a tow, so there will be a safety car. And that is... Oh, yes, Stewie Shaw's gone in. So this is cold tyres. It's got to be cold tyres.
Yeah, no, Matty Dench has missed the apex going into McPhillamy Park. He's hit the curb on the outside. It's just flung the car towards towards the fence and give him a really big crack and whiplash. So yeah, that's a tow that's got to be had. I haven't heard it come up on the race control channel.
So one of those 2 cars has been given permission to tow, and it was Dench because it was so far offline. And they're having a look at Stuart Shaw at the moment. That's a huge, huge impact. Absolutely destroyed the front end. And then this is the follow-up for Stewie Shaw. Clouts the barrier.
Oh, Stewie Shaw, he's turned the car around back to front, and he was in the middle of the track, facing backwards at the drop-off of Skyline. That's a pretty dangerous place to be. Cars are coming over at about 200 kilometres an hour, and then Stewie's sort of sitting in the track. So Stewie's facing backwards. I don't know if he's got it to turn around. He has hit the fence, but yeah, a couple of cars need to tow.
I believe he has actually. They've given permission to all those cars to tow, so there will be no safety car after all of that. So decide what you like on that one. The safety cars and how they're handled by manual officials in iRacing is a really, really interesting one to keep an eye on. But be it as it is, it's gone down the way it has, and there's not much more we can do about it. There's another huge incident. It's Jimmy Middleton. Thank God I don't have to hear about that one. Jimmy Middleton's just had a huge moment. This is Jackson Dial getting down the inside of Adam Wright, so he gets the job done. But Jimmy Middleton's just had a huge tank slapper across the top of the mountain. His car is destroyed. Oh, there's another one in the background. What's going on? Has someone dumped oil?
No, this is cold tyres, Scotty. It's all cold tyres. The guys are pushing too hard on their first and second laps out, and they're coming off McPhillamy just a little bit too hard with the pace that they're used to with low tanks and hot tyres, and it's just catching them out, catching 3 of them out. That's not a tank swapper that you had in your Porsche before. That is cold tyres coming out of McPhillamy. That is unbelievable.
Well, it's all gone downhill, but the biggest thing is I will be giving Jimmy a big round of applause. He didn't get away with this one. So the update on this is what's going on, and I have received an update on what happened to Adam Burhoff He unfortunately had somebody at his front door. Oh boy! Luckily, Jimmy got away with that one. And safety car's been called. So for the guys that did the fuel saving in that first stint, they will now definitely make it home from here. We've got a free kick. But the other guys that are around them that didn't quite make it, some of them will be close, some of them will be capable of making it from here. Leader's just gone through Griffin's Bend, and we were talking about just changing the nature of the race. Well, this does change it. We are 43 minutes into the race, and if you were to pit now, it would absolutely be a one-stopper from here. This is Daniel Coleman.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a one-stopper now. The safety car's out. Even for those guys that managed to pit a couple of minutes before the 40-minute mark, I think that they might be able to save enough fuel if they're careful and clutch the car and the safety car goes a lap or two. Probably only do 1 or 2 laps, but I think we've now resigned this down to a one-stop race. And but I'll tell you what, the thing that is eye-opening to me is that's four drivers, Scotty, or 5 drivers that have come to trouble, and it's all at the same spot. It's right at that turn up at McSorley Park, and they've missed the apex and they've hit the curb, and that's what's upset the car. The first one though didn't hit any of the curbs. It was just a single oversteer in the course, so that was a little bit of early throttle. Easy mistake to make on cold tyres, but everybody else has just understeered a little bit, hit the curb, it's upset the car, and they've lost the car. So that's eye-opening, and that's something for all the drivers to be aware of, because they've all got another stop to go, and I'm guessing that they're all thinking they're going to go another set of tyres because they can.
Well, I've got an interesting update for you on Matthew Dench, and that is him in the background of that shot. So that is our leader, Blake Neck. So Dench will get his lap back here. He will get waved by and put to the back end of the train, but he will be back onto the lead lap. So Blake Neck, who's going to drop in behind the safety car, will be under full course yellow here for a couple of laps, you would assume. Dylan Shepard's going to dive to the lane, and that'll be to normalise him on strategy, make sure that this is definitely a one-stop race. And there'll be a few guys that dive in behind. Sam Chapman coming back to the lane. I thought he would have been gold on fuel, so that's an interesting one there.
Well,
they're going to lose.
He'll just top it off, so he's definitely got one more stop after this, and then he maybe cuts out a little bit of the pit stop time from the next one as well. He's gone and flipped his strategy 180 now that we've got the first safety car. If it had stayed green, I think he'd have stayed with the strategy he was on. Now that we get a safety car, he goes away from that into, okay, well, I'll stop lots, but cheaply, and load that tank up, hopefully, push full rich and save myself pit stop time with the remaining stops.
Yeah, the only issue I have is the track position was just lost, so, but it's only about 5 spots, so it's actually not too bad. So we'll go back out. Sam Sproul's another one that came down. Darcy Inwood as well. And Angus Lawford, all 3 of those guys just came to the pit lane. Jackson Dials moved his way to 2nd spot after starting 8th, so he's been a big gainer in the middle of all this, and everyone shifts on over to running as quietly as they possibly can up and across the top. But the big gainers, James Abela, Michael Whiting's +10 at the moment, Nick Wood and Daniel Benefield. Benefield's starting to make some gains now, which is interesting. He's definitely not had any pace. I can tell you from Daniel Benefield, there is damage on the front end of that Porsche. But it's really, really weird, because I definitely thought Benefield would be a long way further forward in this. He's clearly just not got a setup in that car that's working for him.
Best lap of a 207.6 for him, while the fastest lap of the race is 205.8. So that's 1.8 seconds away from Blake Neck's leading pace.
There's more issues actually for Daniel Coleman on that lap, which has been looked at the moment, but they're focusing on the safety car procedure as it currently stands. Track temp has dropped about 0.5 degree as it currently stands, but the winds are still quite strong. It's only 23 degrees Celsius air temp, which is interesting because in these sorts of conditions, last week it was 31 Celsius. It is a very, very blue sky. It's still hot at the mountain. And lap down cars are just being released to go through, which means that will put Denchi back onto the lead lap. It'll be interesting. He might dive into the pit lane and grab that splash. So that'll eliminate the stop definitely for him. But he might want some track position as well. So strategy allowing itself to play out right about now, Dave, I think is a big thing under this safety car period.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the pit counter. How many pit stops has everyone made? Well, James Abella has made... Dylan Shepherd has made 2 in the 11th there. Abella has only made 1, but it was, I think, an early-ish one. And then, of course, 2 from Sam Chapman, 2 from Samuel Sproul, 2 from Darcy Inwood, 2 from Angus Lawford. So, Shepherd and Chapman, this could be interesting for them. Drivers who pitted before the safety car and then decided to pit again when it came.
And Jimmy Middleton's just dived to the pit lane to get a pit stop out of the way. Gordillis is back into the lane. He'd have the option to get a wave by right here and get a lap back, but he's not taking it, which is interesting. Although he is 8 laps down, so it would not matter, and there is more damage on the front end of that car as well. So I think he may, in fact, just be done for the day. And with that little laugh, Pete has come back to us.
Oh yeah, just come back from the DMT boys chat, Scotty, and yeah, they're in there. They're throwing strategies around left, right, and centre. Like, what do we do now? Can we make it to the end with one stop and keep it out and dry? And they're all like, oh yeah, and I'm like, oh, I reckon yeah, one stop, yeah. And they don't know what to do with tyres. I think they're all going to go tyres. And I went, you sure? You know, 5 people crashed with tyres and all things else. But Owen Coleman's sitting in there and had a chat with Owen. I said, mate, why aren't you in the race? You listed. He goes, no, he did. Literally, Owen Coleman slept beyond the start.
Yeah. So
yeah, he's paint ready, everything. It was like a teenage girl getting ready to go to the nightclub for the first time. Slept past the bus.
Owen Coleman would absolutely enjoy being called a teenage girl, Pete. So that's
not even I was going to raise him, so.
That I can guarantee you, the boys in DMT are going to be giving him hell with that one for a long time to come. That will not go down. Be forgotten about. And we're just hearing there's just been a little bit of an issue with Andrew Scott Dillis at the moment. He did go and get his lap back, but it was now. This moment actually happened during the Bathurst 12-hour last weekend as well, and ended up in a 5-minute penalty for a GT4. Except for at that point in time, what it was going before the waiver rounds were called. And this instance was after the waiver rounds were concluded. So I get the feeling race control is not going to look on that too lightly as well, because it's effectively disobeying race control is what they've gone with, and it is a safety issue.
Well, it's complete ignorance of race rules, mate. It's not disobeying safety. Well, it's not disobeying race control. It is a complete ignorance of racing rules and understanding of where you are in the race, right? You got to accept it. You got to take the opportunity you get, but you can't just go and take those. You can't safety. You know that one of my biggest bugbears is when a safety cars are called and people run into each other. I cannot stand it, and I think we should be much harder on leagues with that have safety cars and manual safety cars, because you know we do safety cars for a reason. It's to emulate a lot of things that happens in real life, but there are some really strict rules and safety protocols that go with it, and if you break them, then I think you should. Anyway, I'll leave it to you guys. Race is about to start. Back to you guys.
The restart on the way, and safety car procedures on Wednesday night were an issue in the Pro Series as well, and it was overtaking before the control line, so race control just took the opportunity to remind drivers at that point in time no overtaking. But yeah, all these little discussion points, it's about getting the process and the procedure correct. And it's incredibly important because if it's not done correct, it does have an opportunity to cause chaos. We'll debate that one at length yet again. With 53 minutes now out of the way of round one of the Open Series, the racing has been frantic. The strategy has now started to play itself out. Safety car, the first in the series of Open racing, has now played itself out as well. Blake Neck still leads the way after putting the car on pole position. Whereas everyone can play themselves out, a lot of very high-rated drivers and drivers that should be towards the front end of this field have had issues under cold tyres. Who is going to create the next moment in this race as Blake Neck gets us back on the green flag, and Jackson Dial will get his first opportunity to go in pursuit of the race lead. Can he match them? Can he go forward? Who is going to be able to make time? Duckworth was having a look at Dean Mackay on the run at turn number one. Deeper in the field, there is going to be a couple of moves. There's a Mustang pulling out to have a crack down the inside. It's Sam Sproul, who was one of the drivers who did pit under that safety car as well. There's going to be Mustang versus Mustang on the run up Mountain Straight to restart us after the safety car.
Big old Ford Mustang's too wide. There's not room for anyone else here in the inside line at turn 2. Absolutely where you got to be. Darcy Winwood going with the fuel-saving roll into turn 2. In 17th place, watching that all play out in front when Nick Wood is ahead of Sam Sproul as the track narrows up and heads up the hill.
And all start to settle themselves in. Sam Chapman might start seeing a little bit of pace coming out of the Acura now. So far, his fastest lap at 2:05.885, so he has been capable of race-leading speed, but electing to go on the fuel-save strategy early on. Got to the 40-minute marker. Well, now he's got a little bit of a free kick on strategy. There might be some more pace, and I just saw James Abela very wide at McPhillamy as they crested the hill, touched some gravel up there, which is going to leave some kitty litter on the line, and there's another huge wreck at the top end of the mountain once again. There's a Porsche in the wall. That will be Ricky Provenzali. Now there's an Acura in the fence as well.
Sam Chapman at the bottom of the hill. It's two of them up the top of the hill. There's another Porsche that's gone around, and Sam Chapman missing a rear deck lid.
It's Kurt Nommensen, Logan Murphy, and Leith McClimate, and Ricky Provenzali, the four cars that were involved. Acura of Chapman was a little bit further forward in the fuel, and safety car's going to be immediately called again. This will absolutely set everyone to a one-stop strategy from here. There's no way you'll need that extra splash and dash now. So for Sam Chapman, that's just ruined his strategy, but there are cars strewn everywhere across the top, and there's four of them hard in the barrier.
So this is strategy from Duckworth to get into the lane straight away. Abella, Herhock as well. Here's the safety car to grab the field. No worries for Blake Neck on that race start though.
Yeah, controlled it very, very nicely. Launched well. Pete, you think this, for the guys that didn't stop on that safety car, this should be enough now as we get a replay? We'll talk prospects here in a few moments. And we're keeping an eye on Murphy at the moment. Around goes the Porsche. And now heavily in the barriers as well. And the problem was, it was on the line. There was three separate incidents there that all went on. Three cars had major issues.
Well, I'm going to tell you, mate, it's Murphy was in the Merc, so stop protecting your own personal indiscretion. That was a cold tyres on the Merc for Logan Murphy. He's come out and lost control. Normanson behind him, two cars behind him, lost control under his own steam. So two cars have lost control under their own steam up there just before that run in the Skyline. And Ricky Provenzali, I think he's a little bit of an innocent victim here because as Logan Murphy's tried to gather, the car's flipped around and Ricky's just tried to escape it, but I think it's just touched the back of the car and flicked Ricky around. So a little bit of an innocent victim there for Ricky, but Logan Murphy and Kurt Nommensen, all on their own, mate.
Oh, that's a huge one. That's the heavy impact of the wall. This was Kurt Nommensen all the way down the bottom. It was out of control, wild and woolly, and then Ricky was out of control there as well. And the 91 machine was having issues, backed it up in the barriers at the dipper. Not much more he could do. Right, that is going to take strategy games away from us because we are now 22 minutes away from the pit lane window to the end opening, which the benefit now is we will have a little bit of strategy in who is going to pit early and go for the undercut, and who's going to go for the overcut, because a lighter car is certainly worth a little bit of track time as well. But the driver's going to have to get some heat back into these tyres now as well. There's a lot to play out these next few minutes, Dave, and cool heads, they're going to need to prevail here, I think.
Yes, indeed. Blake Nex led every lap, all the way so far in this one, barring that initial pit stop window where a few drivers, like Sam Chapman, went longer than him. And so he's probably not entirely thrilled with safety car after safety car.
Anyway, back to you again, Dave.
Oh, that was most of my point, I reckon, for Blake Neck. He's got an immense amount of pace, but it just keeps bringing everyone else right back behind him and right with him on all of these race restarts.
So, Scotty, here's some interesting stats. So, it's from P24 down to P31. So that's from Adam Burhoff down to Logan Murphy. Those guys have all just gone into the pits. And so potentially they've topped up and got a new set of tyres. But I think at the front of the field, Scotty, is we know that they can do it on one more stop for fuel, but will they do it on one stop for tyres? And you talked earlier about, you reckon it's sort of 4 to 5 seconds to warm up a cold set of tyres over 2 laps. Is that going to be 4 or 5 seconds that puts someone like Connor Nixon, for example, from P5 up on the podium or even better? You know, might that surprise some people, or do you think they're all going to play it safe and say, you know, oh, we're going to put new tyres on because new tyres are fast? But you know, are they really that fast?
Well, I don't think you can hang on to tyres in these temperatures for 2 stints, for two what would be 2 normal full fuel stints for these cars. So I think you will absolutely have to take tyres, because they will fall off a cliff at the back end of the race if you do not. Somebody will absolutely take that risk. The question mark is who didn't take the tyres at their first pit stop out of that front group. That will be a big talking point, because, well, Matthew Dench did, but the car ended up in the wall. So the first hour of Premier Endurance League Open Series racing in the books. And as David Haynes so aptly put it, it's been Blake Neck dominance thus far. But Jackson Dial's made his way through, and an opportunity, if we get an extended run here, there might be an opportunity for him to move up and start applying pressure. Dave, that might change the story just a little bit.
So, sprawling inward, 13th and 14th, potentially with more fuel than everyone in front of them as they last stopped 4 laps ago compared to 7 laps ago for Blake Neck, 8 laps ago for Jackson Dial. Jim Saxon's maybe a tiny bit out of place, having last stopped 11 laps ago and running in 16th at the moment. He really just didn't get going off that last section to really get into a rhythm and get an idea of where everyone's pace sits right now.
And the mixture of tyres and no tyres as well. It's worthwhile keeping an eye on who's been able to keep temperature in them as well. And the full field crawling their way across the top of the mountain. Down through the break. How many times have you been to the mountain, Dave?
At least 4. And then I think I've been another time, like, passing through town and it wasn't a race weekend. But we, you know, cut a lap, so...
Yeah, perfect opportunity. That's the best time to go to the mountain, because you can actually go and drive it.
You can drive it on the 12-hour weekend. It just costs, you know, $80,000 to $150,000.
Yeah, no, I don't have that money. I'm sorry.
Or anyone who'll lend me time in their GT4.
Well, I was going to say, the other option is you could just have some really rich friends that are going for a lap anyway, and then you just jump in, because why not?
I'll stick your thumb out when Jackie X comes past.
That was brilliant seeing him crawl around in the Hyundai prototype. The Hyundai Genesis was, actually. And waving the green flag for the field as well. Was a very, very cool moment. It's safety car now pulling away from the field. We're back to green flag racing once again. They all tighten up once more. An opportunity again abounds for those drivers who can hang on to it. Some drivers have had their nights destroyed and go backwards fairly quickly. Scordilis and Daniel Coleman, the only drivers now off the lead lap. A fair few drivers have managed to get some damage repaired, get back out there and get cracking again. Curtin Robinson's 91 car is destroyed off the lead lap when the field passes through this time by. But other than that, back to green flag racing. An opportunity for those at the tail end of the field to get some extra fuel in. Weaving of tyres now to cease as well, because here comes another restart. And Blake Deck has actually decided to go very, very early on, and Dean Mackay has been presented with an opportunity to try and get some pressure on Adam Wright. Can't overtake, can't overlap prior to the apex of the final corner, cannot overtake until the start-finish line, and Mackay is going to have a huge opportunity because Adam Wright went very deep at the final corner. Here we go, back to green flag racing at the mountain once more. Jackson Dial's got the fastest lap of the race. Now he's presented with an opportunity, and Adam Wright has turned his Ferrari into a 4x4 more than a race car.
Quite a few drivers still aiming to try to pick up a bit of tyre temperature. Some of them won't really have done more than one flat-out lap since they put a set of tyres on. Guy continuing to try to defend his position up towards the cutting from Connor Nixon, on board with that Mercedes right now.
An update came through from race control as well regarding Scordilis and overtaking under caution when the wave around procedure had been completed already. Drive-through penalty. I'm going to sit here and say I would prefer a stop and hold penalty for something of that nature, just because it's a listen and listen here, or it's not worth it. Just failing to follow race control instructions is a big one for me. But anyway, that's my opinion on the matter. Oh, cards in the barrier there.
The more of them come past, the wider they got. You're like, oh, surely someone's going to follow the car in front, following the car in front, following the car in front, and just graze that concrete. And yeah, sure they did, a little bit further back down the order.
How interesting is the marbles and the build-up of the marbles and the role they play as the fishy Ferraris get a touch closer. Michael White, remember, got released in that last stint from in behind of Adam Burhock. And the safety car Q catches him up to Dylan Shepherd ahead. So Dylan Shepherd out of sync a little bit because he's lost some track position with putting more fuel on. I reckon he's got cold tyres, maybe fresh tyres on that car as well. Something's happened to Andrew Dutch as well, deeper in the field.
Well, this, and there's damage on that as it takes pit entry. Quite a lot of damage on the Ford Mustang.
For the meantime, Dial's managing to go with Blake Neck. And I think these fishy Ferraris are going to continue to be a pest in someone's review mirror. And right now, it's that of Dylan Shepherd.
Yeah, a pair of prancing fish.
Yep, that's one name for him. I think it was really interesting to see with Matt Cameron in Porsche last weekend. He was sliding the car up and nearly into that barrier the first time he got the car in race mode. He was the widest of the lot of them. There's a car that got a little bit closer to the barrier than necessarily thought was good.
last year when I was outside turn 1 and it was raining, when those Porsche 911 GT3s hit traction control in the wet at 8,000 RPM, they make a noise.
And something further has just happened to Scordelis is around, so his race will absolutely be over now. And that car is destroyed. And there are bits and pieces of it strewn everywhere.
Yeah, mate, Scordelis has just got a little bit too fast, braking really late in the cutting. The back end of that car has thrown itself out into the fence and it's gone into 1,000 pieces.
It's just destroyed.
We're still carrying some damage from earlier on as well, so the fast repairs have been chewed through, and I was back out there, but it was not mint. Here is the pair of prancing fish, and the safety car going from one end of the lane to the other. It's been called, but it's just missed the leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. The safety car just had to sit there and wait for the field around, as long as everybody knows where he's sitting at the cutting. But boys, I had a quick chat with a couple of guys during that last safety car field. They really did enjoy that safety car come out. But Nick Wood was going, yep, this is easy. It's made it now one stop for me. And Jamie Saxon, it certainly, he was like well out of sync and he had twisted. So it was a big difference for him. He had a half a tank difference. So this safety car is going to mix it all up. And potentially, with 50 minutes to go, I don't think it's enough people are going to be able to fill up. But if everybody comes in, then we definitely have splash and dashes. So splash and dashes in the field race. So what do? Do you stay in or do you stay out? It's a really, really tricky position. I personally, if I'm in the back half of the field, I'm going.
As well.
Not much happening. Yeah, no, they come out of the chase, and as they were going through the tight bit of the chase, inside. A little bit of a minor difference in terms of angle through the corner, but I don't think there's anything in whatsoever.
There was damage on that car, and that's actually where that damage come from in that replay, but it was later on in the lap with the overtake. That's Pete's referring to went on. Safety car. I'm interested to see how many people are going to dive to a lane right here, because I just don't get the feeling it's going to be a lot of them. And there was a couple cars. Well, that's Chapman diving in, and Trent Allen's going to dive in as well. So the teammates are diving in. The fishy car's pitted last lap, and they're going to lose out a little bit. Stewie Shaw's also in, so it's all of that team have just pitted this time by. And the reason for that, there is 48 minutes left on the clock. They may get lucky with the fuel burn. If this safety car extends, like the last couple ones have for a fair while, hitting on this lap would actually just about be the critical lap. Look, they're going to have to save fuel, that much is certainly for sure. But where they were in the queue, this is going to benefit them massively.
No, it's Scotty, I mean, really, really interesting time. Like, so I think we're at least 8 minutes short of people getting to the end of the race, which means they're still coming in. But if you're only coming in for 8 minutes worth of fuel, so 4 laps worth of fuel, 12 litres worth of fuel, that's a much shorter pit stop than somebody who's not stopping that's coming in for 14 laps of fuel. And what they're doing is you might lose track position and you're going to lose a little bit of time through field spread, but you're gambling that the time that you make up through the difference in fuel drop over time is actually going to jump your positions. Now, whether it jumps you further ahead than what you were, that's the gamble that you're taking. But I tell you, I know what I'd do. I'd jump in and take it because I love the free time to save the
Well,
and I'm always at the back of the field, but that's me.
Interesting to note, Sam Chapman actually jumped Trent Allen in that stop. Now, the reason for that was that Chapman stopped at the, in one of the safety cars that he had, and Trent didn't. And Trent was one of the earlier stoppers in one of the previous pit cycles. So Chapman was already getting +1 out of pit strategy as well. And it was because it was 5 seconds difference in pit lane time. because of fuel already taken up. But 47 minutes on the clock. If this safety car, it's going to go probably one more lap, and then we go back to green, there's a very, very good chance that some of those guys that have gone for the fuel save are going to make it. I don't know what their pace is going to be like and if they'll be relevant to the overall race lead, because it is only going to be one stop to the end from here, and it's not going to be a full stop now for these guys. It's probably going to be about a three-quarter stop, which is probably going to be in the realm of 45 to 50 litres. Dave, that race has changed quite a bit. We had really, really good green flag running early, and all of a sudden chaos and drama has kicked off at the mountain and no one can get any tyre temperature in.
That comms warnings for car 51, not us, but sometimes our comms does need a warning. Yeah, I mean, you've got a whole heap of different strategies out there. So, Lake Neck last stopped 11 laps ago. Jamie Saxon last stopped 15 laps ago, but then there is a whole heap of cars in the sort of 17th to 25th or even about 30th that are all thinking, yep, every single pit stop, load up on some fuel. So for Blake Neck, he needs it to stay green and he needs to be so fast, because if everyone from Sam Chapman and the 10 cars behind him stay close, they're going to have such a faster stop later on. They are going to jump a whole bunch of these cars up front.
Interesting to know, one lap safety car that time. So 45 minutes on the clock just before we go back to green, which means that you cannot make it on. That's too much of a save, but it is going to be a very, very short splash and dash. So for those drivers that did pit, they've lost a lot of track position to go for this strategy though, but sometimes you've got to roll the dice. Sam Chapman's just been on the wrong end of strategy, I think, all night. Ever since that first safety car, he's just been trying to fight back for a little bit of track position. This was an attempt to do that. Blake Neck once again back to green flag racing, and a long middle stint. Hopefully these boys can get some tyre temperatures. They go side by side on the run into turn number one. Nixon's going to try and go around the outside of Dean Mackay, and that will give him the inside if he can hang it out there, and he's starting to make some time in a straight line. Dean Mackay did not get the drive off the corner he was looking for, and the roaring V8 engine of the AMG gets to the inside and gets the job done. So Nixon steps one step further forward, now in the fourth spot, but we've got some fuel strategy to play out just yet. Keep an eye on as well Matthew Dench now, after being off the lead lap and outside the 30th. Guess where he is? 13th slot, so recovery drive on the way for Denchi. But for now, it's sort of, when you look, it's a little bit of a scramble fest on this opening lap after the safety car back.
Well, maybe you got to look at some cars on cold tyres, so who's got that back in 20th, 21st? Another 2-3 laps here, I think everyone will build a little bit more confidence, but we keep sort of lining the pins back up and knocking them all over again with each safety car, successive safety car.
So lads, I'm keeping an eye on Sam Chapman. I reckon that Sam's got himself in a really, really good position now, and as long as the field doesn't spread out too much, but as long as the field doesn't spread out too much, I think he's going to be able to cover a pit stop difference. But one of the things that one of the guys said to me driving the Acura is that following a Merc is almost like a death in the Acura, because the Merc is so fast down the straights that the overtaking zones that you normally get at Bathurst, you're pretty much lost if you're following a Merc from the Acura. So we'll see how Sam goes.
Well, I'm going to take the shoe off and put it on the other foot again. Sam Chapman's gone back to fuel saving. I think he thinks there's going to be another safety car. If there is every opportunity that he gets the lead of this race, because if he stays with it, if we get another safety car from here on out, he will make the end of the race, and then he won't have to stop. He'll pop back out in the race lead. But it will be really, really tight on whether he'll be able to make that one. Fastest lap of the race has been improved. It was set by Blake Neck at a 2:05.524. It was immediately beaten by 0.002 of a second by Jackson Dial. So they are trading blows, as are these guys a little bit further back in the field as well. Again, the fishy Ferraris go at each other. And Whiting is ranging up on a Trent Allen, and Allen might be fuel saving. This is the group of guys who did stop into that most recent safety car. The Ferraris are pressing on. Trent Allen might be trying to save, has managed to hang on to that spot at Griffin's Bend, and the race is picking up a notch again.
As we talk about field spread, Scotty, you're talking about the guys at the front doing 2:05.5. Sam Chapman at the back in the middle of the field, 2:08.7.
Definitely looking for some fuel saving, and these guys were just about thinking about going side by side up and across the top. Dylan Shepherd has managed to pick that spot off of Dean Mackay, and Shepherd will have a lot more fuel on board than Mackay. How about this at the cutting? Dived it in late in the Audi. Got the grip, got the bite. The Porsche tried to fight it back. So this was Shepherd and Mackay. And they're going to go side. Oh my word. No. Bravery. But space given by Dean Mackay. How good is that?
Pretty wild.
And back to live pictures. This side by side again. They're not quite done. It's on for the race lead as well. Jackson Dial's going to have a crack at him. He's going to get to the inside of the kick. And now he's on the outside of the chase. Dips the tyre off into those marbles. And Blake Neck, you might have thought he's going to run away with this one today. He's had it all his own way. Well, someone's finally taking it to him. It took some time, but it's Jackson Dial. And these guys are still cracking on. Audi versus Porsche, Mercedes versus McLaren. Oh, massive. Huge action. That'll be another safety car for sure. Is that Dench? I think that's Dench caught up in that one.
We've got another NSX missing a bumper. Seems to be attached with Mustang bumper attachment bolts, and there was another couple cars there underneath the bridge in the final sector as well. Can everyone get it going? They're right at pit entry here.
This is driver error. This one, it looks like Darcy Inwood has come out of the chase on the left-hand side of the track. He's driven a little bit too much further forward, and he's made contact with Matty Dench and turned Matty Dench around. And then the rest of the cars are innocent victims in that. I'm going to put that one on. Darcy.
Yeah, he's tracked out. You're right. You're absolutely right. He has tracked out. It's just hooked everyone. We're all just passengers after that. But
the redress hasn't caused that.
He'll get through. Oh! So look, Dench could have definitely held his brakes more.
But I haven't heard a safety car call, boys.
No, they all got going, didn't they? That's the weird thing. But it's downhill to roll into pit lane from there. So all of them made it. None of them were parked, stopped, or whatever. It's a surprise. And the field's so closely together. You weren't once the pack was through. You've got a big amount of clear space for everyone to sort themselves out and then get into pit lane.
Well, it's on for the race lead. It's on for a few positions up and down the order. We're going to keep an eye on Matt Dench trying to gather himself and grab a few spots in that restart. That's a bunch of freebies for the likes of Sam Chapman, who's just picked up another freebie as well. I think Martin Lipsky might have been very wide at the elbow because there's a bunch of guys passing in a straight line at the moment. It's on for the race lead. This is deeper in the field. Have a look at the trainer cars. They're all just 2x2x2. Lipsky's lifting a big way. They might damage the front end of that Ferrari. Won't have issues. He's letting more cars go. There goes the fishy Ferraris as well. Another pair of them. Now they're all banked up and back up together. This is going to be a huge battle pack. Sam Chapman's going to have Michael Whiting trying to pull up and alongside of it. Trent Allen's actually gone through. Is Chapman trying to fuel save it? They 3 wide on the run of the final corner. You thought they might have been for a moment. Delaney was looking at Whiting. Now out of the final corner. It just doesn't...
Side for that race lead heading up the hill, but Blake Neck is so clever to just stay on that side, protect his inside line at turn 2, and Dial knows there's no way he gets around the outside. He needs to try to cross back over under, and we've seen some bravery on the brakes into the cutting here before. I don't think you're going to pull a move like that and surprise Blake Neck. It brings Adam Wright into the picture here as well. Suddenly, Blake Neck looks fallible, and is it because he's trying to save fuel or something? What is it because of? Has he not changed tyres and now they're a little bit old?
That's what I was going to say. I reckon there is some tyre wear at the front of the McLaren. Issues for Mark Hilly with not holding the brakes and triggering an incident just before as well. Means he's going to get himself a drive-through penalty. In the meantime, we dive down through the dipper, and it's on between the front 3. Dial's got a lot of poke in a straight line. That Mercedes is very, very quick. Neck was a touch off line as he entered the elbow then. And it's going to be Dial that's the driver that cuts the wall. I thought it might have been Neck that was going to tap it, but no. Dial did just touch the wall slightly.
They massacred my flame-shooting McLaren-y boy. This view on an MP412 would have delighted and thrilled me no end. Instead, I'll get in trouble if I use the words I want to use, but...
Mate, she's after dark, you're good.
No, I simply won't allow myself. It brings this top four all together, and then a sizable gap to Dylan Shepherd. We know the work he had to put in to get around Dean Mackay, and then just the Audi maybe missing a tiny bit of straight line speed as well, because then Mackay had opportunities to come back at him as well in a straight line. So Shepherd's just really good on the brakes, but maybe straight line speed for the Audi not as strong as some of the other marks.
And we're keeping an eye on that battle for 12th position on the bottom screen at the moment.
Trent Allen's my David Haynes driver to watch. Last stopped 5 laps ago. First car that is definitely making it, with a chance to make it to the end here.
I think that's the right way to approach it. Chance to make it to the end. Still somewhat good. Sam Chapman is still saving. He's going for it. He's absolutely trying to make it on foot. It's going to be a big, big effort if he can. He's 21 seconds off the race lead at the moment. This could give him an opportunity to finish somewhere up towards the top 5. But we'll have to keep an eye on it at the moment, because that next battle pack just ahead of him cuts their way through. And Trent Allen was in the middle of it, behind Logan Murphy. Murphy was offline when they got to the grate there, so he's going to close massively. Trent will have an opportunity to get the job done later in the lap. Now he's getting balked a little bit by the Mercedes. It's difficult because you know you've got pace. You know when somebody's weak up and across the top. You're there and you're thereabouts, but they've got to get by soon, or else this fuel advantage they've got is not going to play out in their favour when they get the pit stops. The next car's about 5 seconds down the road from them. They're still on for the race lead, still looking for anything he possibly can. It's Jackson Dial. And just about a touch up on that McLaren right now. He's forcing him to cover everywhere. He's definitely got a Mercedes that's turning a little bit better at this point in time. And I tell you what, Adam Wright is getting closer as well, so don't count him out. Now the fishy Ferraris will get down the inside of the Porsche. They'll go side by side through the chase. Delaney did not get the job done on Tommy Wallace, but Michael Whiting did. And Trent Allen has now made his way past Logan Murphy's. So he's up into the 12th spot.
He's got straight line pace, but he's just not getting to the inside on Blake Neck in the places that he wants to be able to stick a move for the race lead. A Ferrari from Adam Wright in the slow speed stuff, that tail is all over the place. But once you get up to some speed, I think aerodynamically, it's pretty well balanced. So Ferrari was balanced in the high speed, but in the slow speed, the traction doesn't look as great as we hoped for it. And also just holding on there, maybe hoping to support Jackson Dial in any way that he could.
Sit back there and saving just a touch for the see if he comes up and stops as well. That'll be the other thing that Jackson Dial can potentially do, although Neck did stop 1 lap later than him, so Neck's got a small advantage there. And Dial certainly looks the race here. I tell you what, a pretty fastest lap race, by the way. I had a look. Remember how I said that there was 0.02 of a second between Neck and Dial? Well, Connor Nixon's only 1,000th of a second further back. So our top 3 fastest lap times: 2:05.522, 2:05.524, 2:05.525. How good's that for evenness at the top end?
Yeah, it was also so close in qualifying as well, wasn't it? Across a whole heap of different marks. Got is the track temperature slightly dropping down now, and that's wide from Jackson Dial. He cuts part of the chase. He overcooked the braking zone there, and he lets Blake Neck off the hook. Adam Wright pits in from 3rd place.
So Adam Wright will be looking for a little bit of free air. going to try and harass these guys. We're inside the final 40 minutes, which means it is in that final pit window to make it home. He's the first of the drivers out of that lead group pit. And if he can make an advantage of it, the problem for him will be trying to pick up some clear air on the racetrack. And you can see just how congested it is at the moment. As now Delaney's going to swap to the other side in the 43 Porsche. See if he can't get the job done. Tommy Wallace defending rather stoutly. Runs wide at the final corner. So again, it's just head on a swivel at the moment, boys, because it is incredibly busy. Pete, you got anything new for us at the moment?
No, I just jumped in and checked in with the race control lads, and they're up to date with all of their investigations. So what we're seeing is the race as it is. It's all pretty much clean. I did ask them whether they wanted us to throw some fresh green tyres at anybody. They had a bit of a chuckle. So they know that it's been the green tyres that caused a lot of the dramas tonight.
Cold tyres have caused dramas, and the decision now for Blake Neck, it looks like he probably hasn't taken tyres at that first stop. Down to the inside, Wallace will get the job done, and Delaney's going to follow him straight through as well, so they both get the job done. They were looking for that opportunity to try and grab a spot by Logan Murphy. Job done for both of them, but in the meantime Whiting's trying to skip down the road. And it was all because Murphy was wide when they got the Griffins.
And then he ends up marbles and understeering at the cutting as well. So as they look down the inside, he ends up wide, marbles, and the nose is not going where it's desired there either, and two cars get past in a place where you'd almost expect no one to be able to get past. I think so long as you kept it on the road, a few drivers might regret not taking tyres at a previous stop, perhaps at the very first one.
Yeah, well, you just never know what's going to happen, and I don't think anyone predicted that race breaking into chaos in the middle of it, but it's gone that way. Delaney's lined up Tommy Wallace now as they run through the chase, and they will go side by side, and finally Wallace will yield, so Delaney will pick that spot up. Out the other front. Hearing James Duckworth's having a little wild ride. Bounces up and over the curb, but a lot better than Sam Chapman rode it earlier on. And he gets the pass done at the same time. No, you don't.
So he goes to 8th, having stopped 13 laps ago. Better than everyone in the top 7 as well, so he could have a slightly shorter stop coming up to the tune of 3 or 4 laps, which could be worth 5 seconds or so, I reckon. So you look 5 seconds forward for Duckworth, and it's a chance he could jump Sproul just on remaining pit stop time and be pretty close to Ethan Bass as well.
The big key is where is Sam Chapman going to pop out, because if it's 30 seconds end to end in that pit lane time delta wise, then he's right on the race lead right now, but that won't last very long at all.
Yeah, I don't think he's got a 30-second pit stop. I reckon he's got about sort of 15 to 20. That puts him in the top 10, but probably in the 5th to 10. I think Sam's actually lost out in this strategy because of fuel spreads, really.
So it's a huge moment for Logan Murphy now. He's starting to struggle, so his front tyres might have finally flipped off aboard his Mercedes.
Well, he went into the wall just a couple of corners ago, which was a bit of understeer, and then here he's understeered off again. So there's a few cars where the fronts are what's starting to give up.
Interesting to note, and as well worth noting, looking underneath the bonnet of the Mercedes AMG, they aren't actually, talk about this long nose, but a lot of that nose is actually air intake was a big moment there, not just the contact area for Logan Murphy. So that sort of tells his story. Sam Chapman is so long.
You've got that air scoop in the bonnet, and the V8 engine doesn't start until after that. There's all ducting and radiators and everything in front.
They're referred to as a front mid-engine. So the engine is behind the front axle. Therefore it is a mid-engine, but it's a front mid-engine, whereas if you have a look at the Audi and the Lamborghini and such, they are the engine's ahead of the rear axle, but it's in the rear end of the car, which doesn't affect the balance between Mercedes and the balance difference between Mercedes and those that are mid-rear.
Dial pitting from second here, so trying to make an undercut on Blake Neck, who stays out. And I think that's good for Blake Neck, though, that he's allowed to try to run an overcut and allowed to get back to his consistent best rather than fending off the pressure of a Mercedes that's incredibly fast in a straight line.
And Connor Nixon's going to shadow him as well, which is very, very important because this will allow him to keep a read on what Blake Neck's pace looks like.
He's what you're forgetting, fellas. Dial's come out. He is 6 seconds behind Sam Chapman, who we think can make it to the end. But also, if we look further up the grid, Trent Allen pitted on the same lap that Sam Chapman did. We missed that. But so Trent's on pretty much the same fuel strategy as Sam Chapman. Currently sitting in T10, and he's another 6 seconds, but 12 seconds up in front of Jackson Dodd. So I think Trent Allen and Stuart Shaw are looking pretty. And Jackson Dodd's just been held up by one of the fishy cars.
Is that Blake Delaney on the huge moment? There's an issue for Delaney. There's an issue for Delaney. That's a head-on with the barrier. Oh my word!
And that's why the thing wouldn't turn down at the elbow as well, and he's dropping back. So Delaney's just absolutely crunched that Ferrari.
There's another car that's had issues with the front tyres. Sam Chapman's going to fuel save overdrive, so Delaney will dive in the lane, get the fast repair. He had a pit stop coming, so he's been in. Nixon's now in and out as well, so we've got to keep an eye on where he resurfaces relative to the dial. We're going to get the onboard from Tommy Wallace because he got a heart and mouth moment.
So Connor Nixon's in front of Dial. Connor Nixon's got a 3.7 gap over Dial, but still behind Sam Chapman, and to me, Trent Allen's the man to watch, boys.
Well, I don't have Trent Allen making the end of the race, I'm going to be honest.
No, but he is David Haynes certified for absolutely likely to maybe perhaps be able to make it to the end. And that's as good as anything.
Oh, that's the best he might just make it I've ever heard.
Chapman's doing everything he can to possibly make it at the moment. And Ethan Bass is trying to get down the inside the 911 at the moment as well, which is Isaac Curtis.
Is he related? Is Trent Allen related to Jamie Whincup? Because if he's not, he might make it.
I know what that refers to. And now I'll plead with silence on that one.
Whenever that comes up, all I can see is Paul Dumbrell's helpless face just sitting there.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah.
Well, there's one fish left. Angus Lawford out of shape in front of Connor Nixon, one of the drivers we know is going to make it to the end. Of the drivers who stopped in the last 5 laps and added fuel, he's the highest placed at the moment, but where will he blend with Blake Neck, who's in pit lane right now? There's a little bit of extra traffic from stopping earlier is one of the other things Blake Neck very skillfully avoids with his strategy.
Yeah, well, Neck's gone long. Dylan Shepherd's going to go longer. Duckworth has gone longer as well. So there's a few cars here. We'll shuffle through the order. Trent Allen starts popping up towards the top end of the timing sheets. And now this is the replay of that moment at the elbow.
Blake's on his way out. Connor's Nixon on the first turn. Blake has just pulled out. It's within seconds in front of Connor Nixon. That is great driving.
So that first stint was where the difference was made. That little bit of extra fuel. You just wonder whether or not Jackson Dial did take tyres at that last pit stop as well. So, and for Neck, is he on cold tyres? Because Connor Nixon certainly looks like he's on warmer rubber. Yeah, that is absolutely fresh tyres for Blake Neck, by the way, boys.
He's going to have to, right? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he's just lost a whole bunch of time to Nixon. Nixon is reeling him in at the moment. So he's only going to have about a lap worth of an advantage.
So that would have been my strategy. First pit stop, put new tyres on, survive it, because if there was going to be a safety car between there and the end, you'd get your time back and you'd still have tyres in better condition than trying to go the whole 2 hours on one set. So there's quite a few that are looking successful that have gone that way. And who is Blake Neck right behind?
Sam Chapman, here he goes. This is for the effective race lead at the moment.
Well, you've got to keep Trent Allen in that consideration as well.
I agree. Yep, got to keep Trent Allen.
He's still David Haynes certified.
Hasn't looked like he's fuel saving, but we don't think that he could be.
He's been doing about the same pace as Sam Chapman, so if he's got the same kind of corner speed as Sam Chapman, he may be saving.
And the gap between the guys at the top closes, and Neck is not hesitating. He's made contact! He's made contact with Sam Chapman! Oh no, that's going to end up not the way that any of them wanted it to happen, and that's going to allow Nixon to close in, and Chapman straight on the radio because, you know, I was in a braking zone. He was on the far right-hand side of the line, the track, and that's going to leave. And there's been more dramas for Blake Blaney again. This is just after he's taken his fast repair. No, that's
a new incident because he hits with the side rather than the nose straight on. He's done it twice now. Gone wide through McPhillamy, got it high-sided on the exit curb, and had it snap back the other way. First time it snaps nose first in. That time it snaps and tries to catch it, and he slides passenger door in first. They look near identical, but I remember how the first one went. That's a different incident.
And Chapman's on the far right-hand side of the road. Blake Next is absolutely got a case to answer here. I get that Sam Chapman's fuel saving, but he gave him more than enough room.
Yeah, well, the issue's going to be there, Scotty, is the track width in the braking zone, and whether it's deemed that Blake Neck has cut off Sam Chapman's track space and closed it off and caused the. So that's going to be what race control are going to have to look at and move on. And you know, if he's deemed to have actually made the move, yeah, I'm going to leave everybody else to judge it. I'm not going to say I think that's something that race control.
No, Pete, take your race control hat off, put your commentary hat on. You're entitled to an opinion here. I want your opinion.
No, I'm gonna leave that for
Have fun picking out those splinters.
Well, this is it's definitely going to be talked about. That's the thing about racing. You go racing for drama-filled moments, and we've had a few of them. That will be another one. Sam Chapman, though, starting to be run in by Jackson Dahl. We're within the final 20 minutes of the race. Does Chapman have the fuel? He's saving as much as he physically can. Look at the speed that they're running him down with. So he's certainly going to lose these next two spots. The big question will be how far does he fall? And that tyre advantage for Nixon will have passed now as well, as those tyres definitely up to temperature for Blake Neck. I do wonder whether he did actually take it. I've got the feeling he did, but I'm still not confident on that.
But I'll tell you what, it's a good job from Conor Dixon, because Conor's been sitting at about sort of, you know, that sort of P7 to P4 area most of the race. And on effective leadership, he's like right down one lane for the, you know, what could be the race lead. So I think Conor's done a hell of a strategy to jump up over a couple of people we haven't expected.
So here's the question that's been on my mind. How is Trent Allen driving? And that is not what he needs at all. Contact with the wall coming out of the dipper. Now wide on the marbles, way out in the marbles. He's wild.
Yep.
What he needs to be is fuel saving rather than wild. Fuel saving, it shouldn't be that crazy.
James Abela back through, and James just jumped on the mic and said, I'm diving to the lane this lap. And huge moments. And this one today, and something dramatic has continued happening in the background. We've got a producer. Oh no, it's going to be the fishing Ferrari. It's going to be the other of the Ferraris, and you can just see he's wide on the way in. Oh boy.
And that Ferrari's going no further.
And there's been a request for a tow. Well, no, there's going to be no safety car at all. He's been granted the permission to tow, so we will continue on.
Oh, that is two fishy cars in almost identical incidents up there at McFiddley and Scotland.
Oh, here we go. Update. Blake, there's going to be a change in the outcome of the race. And what's just come through in the data is car 42, Blake Neck, 10-second post-race penalty. Which is going to well, it depends on how good David Haynes' certifications are. If they're brilliant, I'm going to have to get myself one after this. If
Well,
not,
it's good for Connor Nixon. Connor Nixon's going to stay within 10 seconds. Jackson Dials within 10 seconds of Blake Neck as well are on the same fuel strategy. So the question is then just about, Trent Allen and a couple of others. In fact, Adam Wright and Angus Lawford, they were almost pretty close as well.
well, this is going to be interesting. If you thought this couldn't add any more drama to it, we've been wrong. I've been wrong again. Tommy Wallace is going to be pitting this time by. Stewie Shaw might be following him in as everyone starts to run extremely low in the tank. Stuart Shaw was one of those drivers that pit under that last safety car as well. And he's saving fuel because down to the inside, Blake Neck just had a big send on him. So Neck moves up to 4th overall. On track as it currently stands. Oh boy. What a day. The mountain just creates moments, doesn't it? Trent Allen will go through and lead the race.
I didn't see body language from this Mustang earlier that says it's gonna make it. Sam Chapman had, I'm trying to save fuel body language since about lap 3. Trent Allen doesn't have that sort of feel to him.
Have a look at the pace that Connor Nixon's taking it. Well,
It's just no consistency there at that lap 43. That's the thing.
well, that was the lap that Allen had the mistake out the elbow, so. That will be why he lost so much time then, but yeah, you're right. He's just not saving. You can tell very, very visibly that Sam Chapman is fuel saving. Dylan Shepherd's really going to go at him, and now Dylan Shepherd's going to get turned. It'll be contact with Dial. Oh boy.
Hey, that's how my dad gets into the garage. No 3-point turn, just scrape it.
That's an interesting. That's a really interesting one. That's going to need a few extra looks.
I mean, when Dylan Shepherd did that a couple laps ago and got away with it, we said that's crazy, it's brave, it's a little bit stupid, but it's amazing. And then when the same thing doesn't come off, is it still brave, or is it just?
Well, you always get.
Look, it's fair enough. It's a fair enough move, but and it looks like there's a little bit of net code in the front to rear contact between the two cars. So I don't know how race control are going to look at this one when they look at it really slowly, because it's right on the two corners of the cars, and it's a little bit of net code. So, it might be a case of just unlucky for Shepherd.
Yeah. So we'll sit back, we'll watch, we'll wait, and we'll find out, because that's all we can really do at the moment. So tell you what, boys, 2 hours has flown by. At first half an hour sort of dragged on a little bit, but since then it's been wildly exciting. And yeah, I just, man, it's just been a lot. So much has happened in the last hour.
Last lap, Sam Chapman, 207.5. Trent Allen leading the race, 206.3. Allen is still kind of doing personal best stuff right now. He's heading for a splash in this Ford Mustang for sure.
Yep.
So he's put the foot down. Blake Neck is in second, but with 10 seconds still hanging over his head. Jackson Dial and Adam Wright are just within, and Dean Mackay just within that 10 seconds of Blake Neck at the moment. But Neck will surely try to expand that gap a little bit, have as few cars as possible within 10 seconds behind him at the checkered flag. I'm sure he's going to put 10 seconds into Connor Nixon, but he might be able to put 10 seconds into Chapman, Dial, Wright and Mackay.
Well, this now changes the script for Nixon because he needed to get aggressive. Now he doesn't. Now it's just accuracy all the way home. Pace really doesn't matter. He's got 6 seconds over Sam Chapman and behind him, so he's pretty comfortable. All he's got to do is not lose 8 seconds to Blake Neck, and he certainly, with what we've got left, that's basically 2 seconds a lap. So he's looking very comfortable.
That's right. If Trent Allen doesn't make it, you guys think he doesn't. I'm sort of on the fence with it, but
He's lost his David Haynes certification.
Yeah, Connor's certainly on the fence. I'll tell you what, Scotty, you said the last hour's been so quick. It's like being at a bachelor party. Just throw something cold at it, everything deflates and goes all over the place. And for the next hour, you don't know what's happening, and you need safety cars and police and all sorts of things to sort it out.
Yeah, can I get commentary box checked, please? I think we finally got close to that line. Dave, I think you're free to talk the way that you want. Replay's coming up on board at the moment, and the Ferrari slides down the inside, gets the job done on the 413 Porsche. So 138 gets the job done at the chase, and then the switchback's on. Drive out the other side was the big key, and finally seals that one back. That took some time. I believe that was Jamie Saxon as well. No, Jamie Saxon, my apologies. Jamie Saxon was a very, very damaged Acura. He was called out, taken out the field, so it was Dean McCall. It was racing away with James Duckworth. So brilliant back and forth between those guys.
Yeah, but now they're more than 10 seconds behind Blake Neck, so they're not going to get that freebie post-race. Sam Chapman and Jackson Dial just remain within that window. Connor Nixon and Stuart Shaw comfortably within that window. So I think it's probably going to look a pit stop for Trent Allen, Blake Neck to be penalised 10 seconds, Connor Nixon, Stuart Shaw first and second. It's a battle between Blake Neck and Sam Chapman for third step on the podium, I think. Or between Sam Chapman and Jackson Dial for the third step on the podium.
Yeah, so we're going to have an interesting one here. And closing once again is Duckworth. Duckworth's going to dive down the inside of the Ferrari at the chase once more. And exactly the same thing going to happen out the other side? No. So and Trent Allen will dive to the lane, so he will give it up. Certification lost with that pit lane entry.
There's an urgent recall on David Haynes certifications.
Well, to be fair, it was the lowest class of David Haynes certification. He almost maybe kind of possibly might get there.
Yeah, that one comes with a bronze holographic sticker.
Man. So there's been no penalty applied for the incident between Dylan Shepherd and Jackson Dial. So I did take a fair while to look at that one. And this is the move by Duckworth that I was talking about on Dean Mackay. It does finally get the job done. It gets pulled up nice and accurate with the chase system.
Dial's ranging up on Chapman at massive speed here, gives him just a little flash of the headlights. Dial, you imagine be in communication with some of his teammates, be aware what's going on, that he wants to be within 10 seconds of Blake Neck.
Has his pace come back up? His last lap was a 2:06.4, so he's done all the fuel saving he needs to. This might be P2 for Sam Chapman. If he's done all the fuel saving he now needs to do, Dial's struggling to get close to him.
Yeah, 9 seconds behind Blake. He's got to maintain some pace though, so he's got to stay stay within the 10 seconds to get that P2.
It's so close, as evidenced by the timing column on the top left. They are right on that bubble. Blake Neck is putting in rapid and consistent pace with a bit of clean air up front.
There's only a tiny amount of... So Chapman is still fuel saving, but he's trimmed it right off with that right on board. This Acura NSX. The amount of memes that I saw very quickly after this car was announced of finally we get good VTEC. It was ridiculous. It was a popular car to be added. And it's good to see Sam Chapman's been able to go back to his fuel saving best. And we're getting the word Jackson Dial might have contact at the cutting, and a very, very light touch with the elbow. That wall does jut out right there.
Yeah, you're always looking for a late apex there, because you know there's just a little bit that protrudes in that place, and they are so on that 10-second bubble right now as well. I think this lap they fall outside of it. They're about to, surely.
Well, the pace has come up from Sam Chapman to a 2:06.6, but on that lap they lost 0.6 of a second to Blake Neck. So it is drifting in Neck's favour ever so slightly. 5 minutes and 10 seconds left. We're probably going to have 3 laps to bring us home from here. And that pace is definitely recovering for Sam Chapman, but that was a big, big mistake. Get under the elbow. And this is the Ferrari of Adam Wright getting up and against the barrier on the left-hand side. And the feelers were out in force there with that left rear mirror, but I don't think he brushed it. But there was nothing between it.
I'll drop back a tiny bit. It's Adam Wright who's on the attack in this pack now and gets those in front. Oh, but then just drops him off track.
And big impact at the rear end of that Ferrari. That's destroyed that thing. And it has deposited a bunch of rubbish on the road at the chase. Now Adam Wright's going to see if he can't try and hang on to this car and get it home. He doesn't have a meatball flag, so he is able to continue, but it looks destroyed at the rear end, and these guys are still kicking off. Ethan Bass now behind Duckworth. Dean Mackay and Duckworth are still going toe-to-toe.
And I'm pretty sure we're 3 more laps to go based on where Blake Neck was and how much time was left on it. So that could spell disaster for Sam Chapman.
He's going to be tight. He's very tight. I think you're right. And the case from Jackson Dial there is that he's saying that he was forced off the road at the chase. Paint, parts and walls continuing to trade with each other. Wait on in this one. And there's been more issues, and Adam Wright's had further drama up and across the top. It's another Ferrari. And he'll be towing from there. That'll be the end of his race.
That's backwards, the inside of McPhillamy. Right where they normally park that truck with the TV screen on it.
that is just nothing more than a lack of grip because of the damage already presented to the car. So touch the car, it's just spun around. He's got no normal arrow, he's got to take it down.
That is not what the Ferrari 296 GT3 looks like at the front. No, trust me, I know. Trust me.
Well, it's what his looks like, and Blake Neck just crossed the start-finish line, which means that there will be 2 more laps left to run by about 5 seconds. And Sam Chapman won't make it. So that 1 extra lap, oh no, he wouldn't have made it either way. So he would have been 1 lap shy no matter what. Because there was always going to be at least this lap, if not 1 more after it. There will be 1 more after it.
I'll tell you what, I'll defend Sam, mate. He had to have a go for it, right? Yeah, somebody had to have a crack at that. Because I think
a safety car in the last 5 laps, and he looks like a genius.
And there was crashes, right? And it was just a racing shot in the corner. But, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, somebody had to roll those things. Good on them for rolling.
History is full of people who were one flip of the coin between being, idiots or geniuses.
Yeah. For sure.
I mean, Christopher Columbus was the Earth being 1/3 smaller away from being the smartest geographist ever.
Yeah, look, you're not wrong. But in terms of navigators,
Rather than being the idiot who why there's people on 2 different continents called Indians.
Right now has been issue for Adam Wright. So Adam Wright's been issued a 5-second penalty, which he's not going to make the end of the race, so it's not really going to matter at the end of things. But he was actually penalised for not leaving enough room on the outside of, not leaving enough room on the outside of the chase and running Jackson Dial out of room. But it's going to be resolved out on track. Connie Nixon at the moment 2.7 seconds away from Blake Neck, which is way more than enough to secure victory in this one. The next car home will be Blake Neck after that 10-second time penalties applied. He's got 14 seconds over Jackson Dial at the moment. With all that battling that went on between those guys, they fell way off the rear bumper. So there'll be a little bit of a squabble for 3rd spot on the last lap because Duckworth is certainly trying to close. And then these guys, after Sam Chapman's pit stop, he's come back out right behind Stewie Shaw and just ahead of Nick Wood. This is the battle for the last spot inside the top 10. But on the opening day of the Premier Endurance League season, that was a race that was rather enjoyable, gents. And oh no, something's just happened to Jackson Dial at the cutting. So he's going to round, and that will resolve itself in the favour of James Duckworth. So it's still not over.
He's got a traction control switch though. Look at how he managed to flip that thing around, but it's costing positions. It might have given him a bit of damage, and he'll be so on the back foot as Isaac Curtis takes the last lap splash.
Yeah, he'll have to come into the pit lane, but James Duckworth has now got Dean Mackay and Ethan Bass all over him for 3rd spot on the road. So I don't know what went on. We'll have to get a replay to confirm it for sure, but at the moment, James Duckworth sits in 3rd, and he's only got 2 more major braking zones to go, and then he's done. He gets home in 3rd spot. But they just keep falling like flies at the back end. Neck is going to come home, and he will take the win on the racetrack, but it won't be the win in the final standings. That will go the way of Connor Nixon, who comes out of the chase underneath the bridge. He's going to celebrate victory here from the mountains. The Blake Neck will cross the line to take it from Connor Nixon. Duckworth has done enough. He will get home in 3rd spot ahead of Dean Mackay and Ethan Bass. And the top 5 did not look that way when we started the race. I'll tell you that much. It is
going to make for a good series, Scotty, if this sort of stuff happens.
That was a phenomenal 2 hours worth of racing from the mountain. And we've got 6 more rounds left to come in this series, and tomorrow night there will be the limited series. Will get their opportunity, which is the lower end of the R rating threshold. Consider this the pro drivers, and the AMs and the pro AMs will get to go at it tomorrow night. But this is what happened to Jackson Dale on that final lap of the race. As he gets into the cutting, he just gets away from him. It's just odd.
Give it some jandle though.
Covered it very quickly, though, it must be said. But those will be the results. They will not be the final standings. It will be Blake Neck who takes the race win on the track. Connor Nixon will get promoted to the outright victory after penalties have been applied. Neck will be home in P2. James Duckworth, how about that one for him on the final lap of the race? Gets gifted 3rd spot. Dean Mackay from Ethan Bass, Sam Sproul, Jackson Dale home 7th after that spin on the final lap. Dylan Shepherd, Trent Allen, and Sam Chapman gets home inside a 10th spot, so he did manage to pick that one up from Stuart Shaw on that final lap of the race. Stewie Shaw gets relegated outside of the 10, gets home an 11th spot from Nick Wood, James Abela, Andrew Dutch, Tommy Wallace, Mark Foster. Good to see Fozzie inside of the 20. Isaac Curtis, Daniel Benefield. He just couldn't find any speed at all tonight. Darcy Inwood, Angus Lawford. This is where we get into the interesting stories, because there was a lot of stories deeper in the field where they just couldn't hang on to their cold tyres. Martin Lipsky with the first car home outside of the 20 from Angus Lawford, Jamie Saxon. And then we get into the cars that were 1 or more laps down, and Adam Wright was one of those. Jimmy Middleton also finished at 1 lap down from Adam Burhop, Daniel Coleman at 4 laps down, Mark Hilly, Michael Whiting, and Blake Delaney retirements deeper in the field. And the final 5 cars were drivers that all had major issues. Matthew Dench and Ricky Provenzale, we saw their dramas all night long. Kurt Normanson, Leith McCormick, and Andrew Scordillis would retire 30 laps down in 35th spot. And just wondering whether or not we might get an opportunity to chat to James Duckworth, whether or not he'll be around for a quick interview. The one driver we do have definitely available to us is tonight's race winner, albeit it comes to him as a gift on a penalty. But either way, Connor Nixon, you were there and thereabouts. You were so much quicker through that final stop than your teammate, though. Just ran a lot longer in that first stint, saved the fuel, and were able to bank it up and take advantage of it later on.
Yeah, hi guys. Good to finally be up here. It's been a minute. Look, we just saved a little bit of fuel. I think it was only like 500 mils in the tank that I saved. Went a bit longer because I knew the traffic was pretty bad, because my teammate Jackson Dale had some traffic and he lost about 4 seconds being behind traffic. So yeah, just stayed out another one, and I knew that I was really good through the pit lane. Just been doing a lot of V8s, obviously, that I probably would have been faster than him and probably would have hit him. So yeah, ended up just going a bit longer there, and yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Mate, the Mercedes seemed to look after its tyres quite well. There was just a bunch of you sort of all in and around that top end. It just kept coming to you as the night went on. The qualifying pace wasn't quite there, but the race pace was certainly supreme tonight. Yeah,
the race pace, normally I'm definitely not a qualifying expert at all. So yeah, I'm glad that I put it together tonight. Yeah, the teammates that I've got around me are just unreal. So yeah, they gave me a lot of tips before the race. I was about half a second or to a second off before the race, but yeah, Dench and Jackson just helped me out so much. So yeah, big shout out to them. And yeah, the Mercedes was awesome. Yeah, bit of a fan favorite. Loved the big V8 in the front. I don't like rear engine cars, so yeah, it was probably a good choice that I did that.
Used to driving things with a lot of growl in behind them is Connor Nixon, mate. The floor is all yours, mate, to give a bit of a thank you before we let you go here tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just like to thank SimSpeed. You guys do an awesome job every time you guys do scallops, Logitech, whatever. Yeah, it's awesome to watch. Just want to thank my whole team. Orbit Drop Air made the move probably a year ago now, roughly. And yeah, those guys have been unreal. The team's just been going up and up. Like to thank Revolution Race Gear, iLiveries, and yeah, the rest of the sponsors. I'm sure there's a massive list that the boys keep growing, but yeah, it's been an awesome night, and it's good to finally get a win and be up here with you fellas.
Mate, congratulations and enjoy. I know you certainly will.
Yeah, I definitely will. Thank you so much, guys.
All right, we'll take one step further down in terms of the podium, and David Haynes has got Blake Neck, who will be relegated to second spot after that post-race penalty.
Well, the McLaren was up front for a long time there, and strategy-wise, it's an interesting race as to when you take tyres, because they take a while to pay back for you.
Yeah, hi guys, thanks for having me. Yeah, Trey was an interesting one. When I came out of the pits after the first stop, it was looking like I was going to have to save a little bit of fuel. But with the safety cars and everything, it turned out pretty easy. It just depended on whether you wanted to take a little bit of an extra hit for tyres at the end, which I chose not to, just for track position.
And qualifying, obviously, supreme pace there as well for you. So a great start to this series.
Yeah, I was a little bit shocked by qualifying. When I did my second lap, which was a few tenths back, I knew I could do a little bit better. Because coming down the hill, I lost a bit of time at the dipper and coming into the elbow. But yeah, good start to the season, and P2 after a slight mishap is a good way to finish this race.
And just notice the track temperature shift, you know, across qualifying through the race. Did you feel the track cooling down just a little bit as the race went on?
A little bit, but not too much. I think it cooled down a couple of degrees, which you'd notice slightly, but not a whole lot.
Well, congratulations. I think just missing out on the fastest lap of the race, though. Nearly had a pretty significant sweep on this one, unfortunately. Not quite to be at Bathurst.
No, not quite this time. Hopefully for the next round or future rounds, I can do a little bit better, but we'll see how we go.
Well, 6 more rounds and some very exciting tracks coming up. Wishing you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me, and thanks to the team and the league for putting on this race.
Well, that's going to wrap us up here from the mountain on your Saturday night of the Open Series. The next round for the Open Series won't be through until Saturday, the 8th of March. Sebring will be the location, and it'll be just shy of when the Sebring, or might actually be just after the Sebring 12-hour actually is as well on iRacing. So subs will certainly be floating in and around the series. Might be an opportunity for the drivers to get themselves settled in. But what I can tell you is tomorrow night from 7:45 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time as well, the Limited Series gets back underway with full grid sizes, 50 drivers out there and taking to the mountain in anger. You've seen the pro drivers do it. What can the Limited Series guys bring to the table tomorrow night? Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to bring you this series on behalf of the SimSpeed crew, on behalf of David Haynes, Peter Baxter, and myself. The Gamer Gear Direct Australian GT3 Open Endurance Series had its race number 1, won by Connor Nixon. Boy, what a gangbusters race it was. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you again next time.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.